Greetings, dear friends. This evening we embark on a journey into the opulent, outrageous, and sometimes questionable chambers of medieval nobility, where ambition, desire, and a complete disregard for limits intertwined in the most dramatic ways. Before you settle in, I invite you to take a moment to show your appreciation by liking the video and subscribing, but only if you truly find joy in the tales I share here. Share in the comments where you're joining us from and what time it is on your clock. It's always a delight to discover the diverse places our audience hails from across the globe. Now, let us lower the lights, perhaps activate a fan to create a gentle background hum, and together we shall embark on tonight's adventure. In the annals of history, King John of England, often referred to as John Lackland and humorously dubbed the worst dinner guest in British lore, is a figure whose legacy is marked by the signing of the Magna Carta, the loss of half of France, and a penchant for scandalous encounters with the daughters of the nobility. In the years from 1199 to 1216, John's rule unfolded as a vivid lesson in the art of mismanagement and public conduct, a tale of political turmoil. In my view, it feels even more challenging. John didn't merely engage with lovers, embrace them fully. He gained infamy for his audacious acts of abducting noblewomen, sequestering them within grand royal castles, and regaling them with tales, until they were either wed to others or faded into obscurity. His preferred method for dismantling influential families wasn't through combat. Rather, it involved charming the wife, driving a wedge between her and the husband, and subsequently imposing double taxes on him. Streamlined, those who recorded history found themselves deeply unsettled by John's actions, to the extent that even the partial medieval scribes, known for overlooking witch trials and punishments, noted that he lacked restraint with women and did not shy away from the wives and daughters of others. That's a tale of year where he turned the Christmas gathering into a scene of profound discomfort. At one time, it is said that John had 30 mistresses documented in the annals of his life. That lacks romance. It's merely a matter of staffing. A number of nobles approached the crown with grievances, delicately expressing that John was taking advantage of their generosity, which in more candid terms meant he had entangled himself with nearly everyone, from the serving staff to, perhaps even the family goat. His actions were so outrageous that they almost ignited a revolt, not due to taxation or war, but rather because half the barons feared leaving their wives unguarded during royal visits. One baron would not grant an audience to John unless he ensured that his entire household was securely confined first. Ah, the art of negotiation, as it unfolded in the 13th century. And yet, in a manner befitting royalty, John remained blissfully unaware of any issues. He believed he was utterly captivating. While his letters may be the only source of proof, one must remember that delusion often accompanies the crown. Ultimately, King John departed from this world, leaving a realm steeped in chaos, a heritage marred by suspicion, and perhaps a few offspring whispered about in the shadows of the court. He was the sort of ruler who inspired the creation of democracy, a clever ploy to shield their families from his reign. Not the most terrible ruler in the annals of time, yet certainly the one you'd never trust with your little ones. Once upon a time, in the realm of France, there lived a king named Charles VI, famously dubbed Charles the Mad. His reign spanned from the year 1380 to 1422, a period marked by both grandeur and turmoil. Indeed, that moniker was well-deserved, not bestowed casually amidst the revelry of a boisterous feast. He embarked on his reign filled with potential, youthful, striking, and skilled. And so, the tale took an unexpected twist. He began to lose sight of his own identity, turning against his loyal knights, and at one moment, he was convinced he was composed of glass, demanding that his servants swathe him in blankets to prevent him from breaking as he moved. Not quite the embodiment of regal power, yet striking in its imaginative unease, in a realm where kings perceive themselves as delicate glass figurines. They often tread carefully, steering clear of scandal's treacherous path. Not Charles. Deftly juggled a royal mistress, a paranoid delusion, and civil war all at once. A true master of multitasking in a realm where chaos reigned. Isabeau of Bavaria, his devoted wife, endeavored to maintain order within the court. Meanwhile, Charles, in a fit of peculiar antics, would often flee in terror from mirrors and shun the bath, convinced that the very water might wash him away into nothingness. In the shadows of the grand palace, his mistress, Odette de Chambray, Divers, was seamlessly ushered in, presented to all as his solace, a term steeped in medieval nuance, urging silence and smiles in the face of unspoken truths. Odette, in her unwavering loyalty, remained by Charles's side through his most tumultuous times. She must have possessed an extraordinary patience, with the regal authority of a monarch. With gentle hands, she tended to his hair, absorbing his whimsical musings that danced like shards of glass. She assisted him in donning several layers of soft padding, ensuring he could settle down with ease and comfort. Nothing embodies fervor quite like securing your noble beloved in a cushiony embrace. Yet, Charles's eccentricity extended far beyond the confines of his private life. He also orchestrated court entertainments where calamities unfolded in unexpected ways. In a tale steeped in legend, there was a notorious occasion called the Bal des Ardents, where he and his companions donned costumes of wild men, igniting the night with their torches as they danced in a fiery display. In a tragic twist of fate, a single spark ignited chaos, leading to the harrowing scene of several souls engulfed in flames. Charles emerged from the ordeal, yet the essence of his dignity lay shattered. In the midst of it all, Charles brought forth 12 children, some conceived during moments of seeming clarity, or at the very least, semblance of it. The royal chronicles remain silent on whether he recalled their names, yet one might infer that bestowing a name upon a child not crafted from glass was frowned upon. Charles VI presided over the decline of France, yet his reign is marked by a remarkable intertwining of mental illness, royal intrigue, and the flamboyance of medieval spectacle, all woven into a singularly tragicomic narrative. And in a twist of fate, they allowed him to don the crown in the realm of Castile. A figure loomed large, known as Peter the Cruel to some, and Pedro the Just to others, depending on whether one found themselves in his favor or hiding beneath a floorboard to escape his wrath. His reign spanned from 1350 to 1369, a time marked by his complex legacy. His notion of romance unfolded like a tale woven with threads of regal allure, fervent possessiveness, and the sporadic shadow of a politically troublesome demise. His early romantic escapades were far from poetic. He found himself enchanted by a noblewoman named Maria de Pedia. With whispers of a secret marriage lingering in the air, the element of secrecy plays a crucial role, particularly since he was being wed to other women for alliances, creating a rather uncomfortable situation. Among those women was Blanche of Bourbon, a French noblewoman whom he wed, only to confine her in a castle just 3 days afterward. Thus, she found herself confined for the remainder of her days, all because Peter fancied Maria's more beautiful locks. Or perhaps it was simply that he couldn't stand the sound of Blanche's voice. In any case, it was a bold and striking version of disappearing without a trace. Maria, in the meantime, transformed into the central figure of his enduring fascination. Though he took other brides, she always held a special place in his heart. Upon her passing, Peter was said to have mourned deeply for days on end. In a twist of fate, he then decreed that she be recognized as his legal wife retroactively, perhaps to bewilder those around him and to rationalize the reality that she had already brought forth 4 of his offspring. Yet Peter's fervor extended beyond unexpected annulments in the intrigue of royal abductions. He was infamous for his passionate, tumultuous romances, a reality far from the realm of poetry. It carries a certain peril. One of his mistresses, Dona Juana, sought to break free from his grasp. In the end, she was discovered in fragments, much like a number of his political adversaries and relatives, and sometimes even those who dared to meet his gaze at an inopportune time. It is said that Peter, in a curious blend of leisure and grim fascination, would occasionally observe executions from the comfort of his balcony, accompanied by a mistress. That's not an endearing character. That's a character from HBO, driven by their impulses and often succumbing to their darker instincts. Yet amidst all the intrigue, the Castilian court was always a place of fascination. Whispers danced through the air like a fine vintage. And Peter's connections wove a tapestry where desire intertwined with rivalry. His vision of love was a tapestry woven with unexpected twists, surprise weddings, sudden divorces, and the rare, shocking betrayal of a surprise stabbing. In a twist of fate, Peter met his end at the hands of his own half-brother, a poignant moment that echoed the complexities of familial bonds. Yet his legacy as one of Europe's most fiercely unromantic romantics endures. If love is a battlefield, Peter arrived with an arsenal ready for war. Edward II of England reigned from 137 to 1327. And his legacy is marked by two notable events: his defeat at Bannockburn against the Scots, and his deep affection for his male favorites, which often overshadowed his relationship with his queen. One of those actions was deemed an act of betrayal. The other sparked lively debate around the dinner table. Once upon a time, there was Piers Gaveston, a cherished companion of Edward from his youth, whispered to be more than just a friend, and a true paragon of style. Piers shared a bond with Edward that went beyond mere closeness. He ascended to heights of absurd power, bestowed with grand estates, illustrious titles, and jewels that quite frankly clashed with his attire. At Edward's coronation, Piers dazzled, with a brilliance that eclipsed even the royal regalia, stealing the spotlight from the queen herself, daring maneuver when one's very existence hinges on the favor of the nobles. Alas, their feelings for him were far from warm. Isabella of France, Edward's wife, was filled with a tempest of fury. She arrived with grand political ambitions and a lavish dowry, neither of which accounted for the prospect of sharing the throne with her husband's closest friend, who might also be more than just a friend. Yet Edward's loyalty never wavered. When the nobles insisted on Piers' exile, Edward brooded, banished him, only to summon him back almost immediately. Much like the heart-wrenching tale of young love lost, yet set against a backdrop of grand fortresses and the clash of steel. In time, the barons reached their limit and brought about Piers' execution. Edward found himself engulfed in despair. Imagine a grand spectacle of chaos and drama, tire of sorrow, communal lamentation, the entire dramatic spectacle of the Middle Ages. His sorrow, however, did not prompt a journey within. A new favorite has emerged, and it is none other than Hugh Despenser the Younger. Hugh transformed Piers into a mere whisper in the background. He was more than just Edward's advisor, was, in essence, the second king. Hugh acquired land titles and whole counties. The remaining members of the nobility were filled with fury at this juncture. Isabella transformed from a merely irritated spouse into a fierce embodiment of retribution. In a twist of fate, she joined forces with a rival of Edward, a lover of her own, and together they stormed England, toppling her husband from power. In a dark twist of fate, Edward found himself behind bars, his crown taken from him, and whispers of a gruesome end by a searing poker lingered in the shadows. Indeed, that tale is out there. But we shall not delve into the realm of physics today. In the realm of the medieval, vengeance often unfolded with a dramatic flair. Leaving little room for subtlety, Edward II's reign unfolded like a gripping tale, filled with personal drama. So intense, it could easily captivate an audience, reminiscent of a reality show. If the Plantagenets had access to Netflix, this season would have faced bans in 3 nations. What was his blunder? Blending fervor with governance, dismissing the voices around him, believing that his sovereign authority rendered him untouchable. It appears that all were capable. In due time, in the late 14th century, when Wenceslaus of Bohemia held the throne, though one might argue that held is a rather generous description of his reign, though he bore the grand titles of King of the Romans and King of Bohemia. His true legacy was woven from threads of public nudity, boisterous drinking, and brawls igniting within the very halls of his own palace. If you're envisioning the noble King Wenceslaus from the Christmas Carol, you're mistaken. That was a figure from his lineage, this Wenceslaus, you say. Alas, it leaves much to be desired. Far from satisfactory, he embarked on his journey with great potential, a young crown-bearer, wise beyond his years, fluent in many tongues, and brimming with capability. Yet, At some point in his journey, he concluded that the royal wine cellar held greater value than the treasury, choosing to rule from the depths of a goblet. Wenceslas became known for his extravagant gatherings that stretched over several days, where amidst the flowing mead and cheeky limericks, significant policy decisions were crafted. His advisors took to carrying flasks, not for the sake of indulgence, but as a means to endure the trials of negotiation. In the grand halls of the court, discussions frequently culminated in dramatic flair, with tables being overturned or duels, ignited all with the most unexpected of weapons, breadsticks. He cultivated a delightful quirk of dashing through the castle, occasionally interrupting meetings with his unexpected appearances. One chronicler recounts the tale of Wenceslas standing boldly before his subjects, issuing royal edicts in the most audacious manner, clad in nothing but a sword belt. What was his reasoning? Satire is for the faint of heart, and it's difficult to dispute that kind of reasoning, especially when the one wearing the crown wields a long sword and is lacking in trousers. In matters of the heart, he was drawn to barmaids, laundresses, and now and then the wives of nobles. Yet his true passion lay more in their suggestions for beer than in their emotions. At his court, affairs lacked the air of scandal. Instead, they resembled something akin to job interviews. A nobleman charged him with the seduction of his sister. With a casual shrug, Wenceslas extended a drink to him, a gesture steeped in camaraderie. In due course, the Holy Roman Empire reached a consensus that they could no longer tolerate his royal vodka, leading to his ousting as King of the Romans, a diplomatic euphemism for a dismissal, cloaked in the guise of political maneuvering. Even his own brother deemed him worthless, stripped bare, and often in a state of oblivion. Yet Wenceslas managed to hold the reins of power in Bohemia for many years. His people endured him much like one endures a boisterous relative at a celebration, complete with exasperated glances, meticulous arrangements, and an abundance of drinks. Ultimately, he departed from a wobbly realm, a drenched wine cellar, and a regal heritage that could be encapsulated as a reign lived as if each day followed a night of excess. Henry VIII of England embodies the chaotic dance of unrestrained authority and fervent passions. From the year 1509 to 1547, he reigned, a time marked by a series of marriages, divorces, and a tempestuous relationship with the Pope, who refused to endorse his dubious romantic choices. You've come across the tale: divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Yet, that only hints at the depths of Henry's enchanting tale, where a royal romance twists into a chilling horror saga. Once upon a time, we begin our tale with Catherine of Aragon, the first of the wives. After 2 decades of wedded life, Henry came to the conclusion that divine displeasure stemmed from his failure to produce a male heir. In the unfolding narrative, the answer lay not in self-reflection, but rather in the bold acts of annulment, excommunication, and the birth of a completely new church. He crafted Anglicanism merely to pursue another's affection. What we see here is not true devotion. Rather, it's a display of pettiness adorned with the grandeur of a cathedral. Here comes Anne Boleyn, the second wife in this tale. Henry penned her love letters, brimming with fervor, fixation, and a touch of clumsy verse. She bestowed upon him a daughter, Elizabeth, destined to rise as one of England's most illustrious monarchs. Yet no sons graced their lineage. This culminated in her apprehension for infidelity, sorcery, and perhaps even casting a disapproving glance within the court's hallowed halls. Her head was severed from her body. Henry progressed with the emotional depth of a humble tuber. Jane Seymour came next, bringing forth a son, Edward, only to meet a tragic fate due to complications from childbirth. Henry grieved for her profoundly, which we interpret as him taking a considerate 11 days before beginning his search for wife number 4. Then entered Anne of Cleves, selected by Henry after he was captivated by a charming portrait. In his presence, he remarked that she resembled a Flanders mare. That union endured for a mere 6 months. Concluding in what we might refer to today as a no-fault divorce, accompanied by a thoughtfully crafted Yelp review, Catherine Howard, the 5th bride, was notably younger and far less reserved. She met her end for the sin of infidelity, yet one might find it difficult to cast judgment upon her at that juncture. Sharing life with Henry entailed navigating the challenges of gout, a cloud of paranoia, and a man whose steps were labored, yet who still proclaimed himself a charmer to women. At last we meet Catherine Parr, the sixth wife, who skillfully navigated her way through the treacherous waters of her time. With her sharp mind, remarkable patience, and a talent for sidestepping perilous accusations, she managed to outlive her husband. When Henry took his final breath, he had plunged England into bankruptcy, devoured a significant portion of its livestock, and transformed the royal court into a dramatic spectacle where the guillotine was as common as the wedding ring. In essence, Henry VIII embraced passion with fervor, governed with an iron fist, and crafted a saga of intrigue so remarkable that it continues to inspire the creation of musicals. Francis I of France, who reigned from 1515 to 1547, was a living testament to the spirit of the Renaissance, refined, delightful, elegant, and utterly unable to maintain the integrity of his trousers. In his defense, he truly championed the arts. He extended an invitation to Leonardo da Vinci, constructed splendid palaces, and played a pivotal role in transforming France into a beacon of culture. Yet, as the painters wielded their brushes and the poets spun their verses, Francis was immersed in the art of charm, captivating every soul with a heartbeat and a name. His court was renowned, or perhaps notorious, for its lavishness, yet it also served as a sort of government-sponsored matchmaking service. He surrounded himself with gentle women of the bedchamber, a phrase that was meant to signify ladies-in-waiting, yet truly referred to a collection of romantic interests. Political alliances crumbled as Francis found himself entangled in a scandal, having inadvertently shared a night with the ambassador's wife, and this was not a whispering, understated betrayal. Francis made sure everyone heard him. He once proclaimed to foreign dignitaries that French kings were meant to be exceptional lovers, a statement that carries a certain grandeur until one considers it was uttered by a man who regarded treaties and mistresses with equal disregard, treating both as fleeting commitments. Among his many entanglements, the one that captured the most attention was with Francoise de Foix, a noblewoman who held the esteemed title of his official mistress. She possessed a sharp wit and a wealth of knowledge, making her the rare woman capable of delivering a public roast to him and emerging unscathed. In time, she was succeeded, as one might expect, by Anne de Pissullo de Hailey, a name that echoes with the charm of a medieval jest, and whose sway in the political arena was rivaled only by her remarkable endurance against rivals. Even those who opposed him couldn't help but take notice. Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, once remarked that Francis posed a greater threat in the bedroom than he did on the battlefield. His words were laced with disdain. Francis likely viewed it as a mark of honor. Amidst the swirling affairs, lavish banquets, and the delicate dance of diplomatic flirtation, Francis wove his narrative, ruling with a deft hand and an astute mind. Despite the high costs of his battles and his extravagant preferences in companions, the man exuded an undeniable fervor. His reign unfolded like a tapestry woven with threads of silk, laced with scandal and infused with the lingering scent of second-hand perfume. Francis I was not merely a king, he embodied France's most alluring historical risk, and truth be told, he relished every moment of it. Alfonso XI of Castile, who reigned from 1311 to 1350, had a singular passion that rivaled his governance of the kingdom: the art of publicly disregarding his wife in the most lavish and ostentatious manner imaginable. His unfortunate, politically savvy wife was Maria of Portugal, noble and well-connected. Yet she was not the one Alfonso truly cherished. Leonor de Guzman held his heart. Leonor, a noblewoman of Castile, possessed a keen intellect, bore 11 children, and wielded such influence that she could effectively govern the court on her own. And unlike Maria, she found her worth not in a crown, but in the all-consuming and unabashed devotion of Alfonso. In the realm of royalty, it was common for kings to have their beloved companions by their side. Alfonso transformed her into a figure cloaked in darkness and mystery. He crafted magnificent palaces for Leonor, bestowed upon her vast lands, and whisked her away to distant places. In the midst of grand royal gatherings, Queen Maria found herself isolated, much like an overlooked centerpiece. While Alfonso cast longing glances across the room at his paramour, who was brazenly unreserved in her advances. To add another layer to the tale, whether for better or worse, depending on your taste, for medieval dramas, Leonor was more than just a mistress. She moved through the political landscape with grace, weaving treaties, earning respect, and bringing forth heirs as if it were her calling. Truth be told, it certainly had that quality. Alfonso turned away, dismissing any notion that Maria held significance in his world. He shared a moment with her just once, and it was solely for the sake of appearances in the realm of diplomacy. After that, he withdrew to Leonor's estate, as if he were a man averse to the chains of matrimony. Maria's father, the King of Portugal, found this quite unsettling. At a pivotal moment, the fabric of international relations frayed to such an extent that the specter of war loomed menacingly on the horizon. Picture a scenario where your in-laws are so enraged by your affair that they contemplate a dramatic response akin to military action. Yet Alfonso remained unfazed. He kept showcasing Leonor at court as if she were a prized possession, and likely would have done so for all eternity, had the Black Death not claimed his life in 1350. Indeed, that is correct. The literal plague was the unexpected twist that brought his affair to a close. With Alfonso's passing, Queen Maria seized her long-awaited opportunity. In a dramatic turn of events, she orchestrated the imprisonment and execution of Leonor, a decision that historians label as vengeful, while many would deem it remarkably just. While Alfonso's reign might be marked by military triumphs, truth is more nuanced. His genuine legacy was that of a king who faced the lash of public scorn more than any other in medieval history. Once upon a time, in the realm of France, there reigned a monarch known as Philip IV, or as some would call him, Philip the Fair. But let it be known, this title did not reflect his character. His reign spanned from the year 1285 to 1314. His moniker arose from his striking appearance, a charm that was regrettably not accompanied by commendable conduct. On the surface, Philip appeared devout, earnest, and wholly dedicated to the cause of moral improvement. Within the confines of his mind, he orchestrated a realm that resembled a high-stakes competition, rife with treachery, clandestine judgments, and a generous sprinkling of hypocrisy, particularly when it came to matters of the heart. His most notorious scandal was the Tour de Nesle affair, a medieval sex scandal so tangled it could have been penned by a master of drama once upon a time. In a realm where intrigue danced in the shadows, Philip's daughter Isabella, the very one destined to challenge Edward II of England, observed a curious spectacle. Her sisters-in-law were engaging in an unusually warm camaraderie with certain knights-errant intimacy that hinted at more than mere friendship, marked by exchanged gifts and clandestine meetings in the tower's embrace. Isabella whispered her secrets to Philip, who set forth on a grand investigation, wielding his authority with all the finesse of a sledgehammer. In a tale of betrayal and downfall, two princesses wed to the sons of Philip faced the dire consequences of their actions. Found guilty of adultery, they were cast into public imprisonment for years, their heads shorn, titles stripped away, and their once illustrious reputations shattered beyond repair. What of the two knights entwined in this tale, subjected to unimaginable torment, stripped of dignity, and met with a gruesome end in the heart of the town? For what could be more emblematic of virtuous governance than transforming a personal tragedy into a chilling spectacle for all to witness? And now we arrive at the moment where the tale takes a captivating turn. As Philip doled out harsh punishments with the ease of sharing sweets, whispers floated through the air, suggesting that he harbored a few mistresses hidden away in the secretive chambers of the Louvre. Some murmured that he harbored a clandestine circle of young women, poised to charm visiting dignitaries, all in the name of diplomacy, naturally. Yet, unlike his daughters-in-law, the king's private matters remained untouched by scrutiny. For, when you hold the pen that scripts the narrative, It's remarkable how transgression transforms into a calculated move. Philip possessed a remarkable talent for invoking religion whenever it suited his purposes. He pursued the Knights Templar, cloaked in the guise of heresy accusations, yet the whispers of the crowd revealed the truth. It was their wealth he truly sought. It was akin to seizing your banker in the dark of night, proclaiming it a righteous act of fate. Indeed, Philip might have appeared as a paragon of virtue and integrity, yet beneath that chiseled jawline and regal gaze lay a man steeped in duplicity. Possessing an intimate understanding of the castle's hidden passages, Sigismund of Luxembourg, a figure of great ambition and stature, held titles such as King of Hungary, King of the Romans, and ultimately, Holy Roman Emperor. He amassed crowns with the same fervor that others might reserve for fine wine goblets, a passion he pursued with equal enthusiasm. In the grand tapestry of history, during the late 14th to mid-15th century, there emerged a figure of remarkable intellect and cunning. Sigismund, a man of many tongues and sharp political acumen, navigated the intricate dance of power with finesse. His personal life was so scandalous that even the most daring tavern bard would find themselves blushing. Once upon a time, Sigismund found himself wed to Queen Mary of Hungary, a formidable figure in her own right. Yet their union was less a passionate bond and more a courteous arrangement. He favored connections that were less conventional, more abundant, and ideally devoid of dialogue. His romantic escapades featured noblewomen, laundresses, and at least one Italian opera singer. Long before the art of opera came to be, showcasing his imaginative flair, court officials frequently found themselves bewildered by his mistresses, not due to their sheer number, but rather the rapidity with which they came and went. Some historians even propose that they resorted to numbering them. In the grand halls of the court, his mistresses enjoyed their own lavish quarters, tended by devoted servants, and in one remarkable instance, even had a private chapel. This arrangement can be seen as either a deeply romantic gesture or a strikingly inappropriate one, depending on your perspective about sharing sacred space with a lover. Sigismund possessed a delightful penchant for disguises, especially relishing the thrill of donning the attire of a commoner to slip unnoticed into towns. At times, it was a matter of intrigue, while at others, it served as a charming ruse to engage with the local women, all under the pretense of being an exceptionally tall merchant. It seems that no one raised an eyebrow at this curious sight. Even though he was the sole merchant accompanied by a lavish retinue of servants adorned with royal crests. And so, the man reigned for decades, embarked on crusades, convened the Council of Constance, and transformed imperial politics, all the while engaging in affairs that would leave even Casanova in awe. Hold on there, my friend. Once an ambassador. Noted that Sigismund extends a warm greeting to all women as equals, particularly in private settings. While this sentiment carries a hint of progressiveness, it also raises eyebrows and hints at a potential breach of decorum. Yet in spite of his many pursuits outside the classroom, Sigismund held a remarkable popularity. This was largely due to his ability to present a regal facade in public, all the while orchestrating the most tumultuous romantic escapades across Europe. He was more than an emperor. He embodied a singular renaissance, a blend of strategist, statesman, and intrigue. In a curious twist of fate, he consistently managed to evade the consequences. In the grand tapestry of history, Louis XV of France, affectionately dubbed Louis the Beloved, reigned from the year 1715 until 1774, and by ruled, we mostly mean he orchestrated an unending royal after-party where governance took a backseat and silk bedsheets reigned supreme. He began his journey with great promise, youthful and striking. Destined to uphold the legacy of his illustrious great-grandfather, Louis XIV, yet, as he entered his 20s, Louis chose to set aside matters of state, drawn instead to the enchanting company of a long line of ladies-in-waiting. Gather round as we delve into the tale of Parco Serfs, serene abode, nestled near Versailles, where Louis hosted his discreet gatherings, shall we say, for intimate performances. Young women were gathered, often from humble backgrounds yet possessing beauty, brought in quietly and exchanged like the changing of the seasons. In a realm where secrets danced through the corridors, one could imagine the palace guards ever vigilant, maintaining a meticulous record of the many mistresses who graced the halls, as if they were chronicling a grand tale of intrigue and desire. His most renowned companion, Madame de Pompadour, was far more than mere beauty. She orchestrated the affairs of France from the shadows, yet when her passion for the physical aspect of their bond began to wane, Louis simply shrugged and set about creating a second harem in response. What is the reasoning behind it? Maintain Pompadour for wit and wisdom. Preserve the Parco serf for all other matters. It was a beautifully orchestrated whirlwind. Every girl was bestowed with gifts, titles, and, in certain instances, a subtle place to reside once her contract came to an end. In the heart of France, there existed an internship program that was unofficial yet remarkably effective, weaving its own tale of opportunity and experience. And what of the Queen, Marie Lashinska? She lingered in the background, a presence often overlooked. Once she ceased to bear children, Louis regarded her as a piece of antique furniture, too valuable to discard, yet no longer fitting within the decor of his life. The intrigue at court had become so commonplace that the nobles no longer inquired about the king's potential mistress. They inquired about the count for this week. Even foreign ambassadors whispered in their letters about the ever-changing faces at Versailles. That doesn't fit the definition of a monarchy. That's an establishment with more refined attire. A twist of fate, Louis truly believed he was a noble leader. Surrounded by extravagant balls, hidden pregnancies, and the uncomfortable pauses shared with his wife, his reign, though not disastrous, laid the groundwork for his grandson Louis XVI, who would ultimately meet a grim fate, perhaps due to the elder's tendency to ponder with the wrong crown atop his head. Ultimately, Louis XV departed from the stage of history, leaving a France burdened by debt, a court steeped in disillusionment, and a royal legacy that could be captured in a tale of adoration from women and disdain from those who balanced the books. Christian VII of Denmark held the throne from 1766 to 1808, although the term ruled may be a bit too assertive, stumbled along the path of existence while others took the reins of the nation is perhaps a more fitting description. Once upon a time, there was a character named Christian who found himself facing a few challenges. He battled with profound mental illness, probably schizophrenia, and showed little enthusiasm for the royal duties, except when it came to playfully pursuing servants with cutlery, a pastime he seemed to find utterly amusing. This transformed him into more of a regal emblem than a ruler. In this tale, Christian found himself united with Caroline Matilda of Great Britain, a wise and discerning young woman who envisioned a marriage that adhered to the conventions of normalcy. What she received was a partner who found solace in public displays of self-pleasure, engaged in conversations with his own hand, vanished during state dinners to gallop on invisible steeds through the grand halls of the palace. It remains a mystery which faltered first, her endurance or his connection to the world around him. Behold Johann Friedrich Struensee, the esteemed physician to the king. With keen intellect and unwavering ambition, Struensee swiftly ascended to the true seat of power in Denmark, while also finding himself in the delicate position of being the queen's lover. Indeed, Caroline Matilda embraced the drama of her life, embarking on a passionate affair with her husband's physician, while the king remained blissfully unaware and indifferent. Struensee crafted the laws, penned the edicts, and entertained Christian with puppet shows, sword games, and subtle guidance away from danger, in a tale unlike any other. There existed a love triangle where one participant merely lingered in the shadows, softly humming to himself, adding an unexpected layer to the unfolding drama. Caroline and Struensee shared a child, a union that on paper might suggest royal lineage, yet in the realm of reality, it was far from the king's. For a time, the duo navigated Denmark as a forward-thinking, somewhat audacious hub of ideas, yet royal courts seldom embrace a relaxed atmosphere. In time, the envious mother-in-law of Christian caught wind of the secret romance and orchestrated a dramatic takeover. Struensee faced a harrowing fate, arrested and subjected to brutal torture before meeting a dramatic end. While Caroline was cast into exile, her reputation shattered beyond repair. Christian found himself once again in a softly monitored existence. Drifting through the remainder of his reign wrapped in a cocoon of quietude, his reign lingers in memory not for its triumphs, but for the delightful absurdity woven throughout. A monarch presiding over nothingness, a queen striving valiantly, and a physician whose efforts perhaps ventured a tad too far. History refers to it as a moment of constitutional upheaval. We refer to it as the most peculiar tale of love in Europe, Charles II of England. Reigning from 1660 to 1685, returned from exile with a singular mission, to restore joy and revelry, ideally accompanied by a multitude of mistresses. And so, the tale unfolds. The mission was a resounding success. After enduring the trials of a civil war, seeking refuge among the oak trees, and grappling with the harshness of poverty, Charles made his triumphant return to England as king. With a flair for the dramatic, he swiftly proclaimed that the nation could benefit from a touch less puritanism and a dash more of the liberating joy found in clothing optional. Ballroom dancing with a heavy heart, Parliament came to an agreement. Known as the Merry Monarch, Charles engaged with numerous official mistresses, and those are merely the ones recorded in history. His most renowned flame was Nell Gwyn, a witty actress who boldly referred to herself as the Protestant whore, setting herself apart from the other mistresses of the time. Truly, a legendary mark of distinction. Then there was Barbara Palmer, known as the Countess of Castlemaine, who was less a mistress and more an enduring presence in the palace. She resided in the lavish royal quarters, where her connection with Charles blossomed into a series of children, each bestowed with titles and lands, for what could be more delightful than a touch of flirtation in the game of favoritism. Charles made no effort to hide his intentions. He introduced his paramours at court gatherings. He provided them with government pensions. He had a corridor constructed at Whitehall, allowing him to access his bedroom without causing a stir among the ambassadors. In the realm of productivity, one name stands out: Charles. Queen Catherine of Braganza, his steadfast companion, weathered every storm with a serene grace and perhaps a hidden flask for solace. She had no offspring, and Charles allegedly remarked that she was unable to have children, yet she never caused me any issues, which serves as both a praise and a warning sign. Charles, a man of grand gestures, embraced the fruits of his passions, fathering no fewer than 14 children outside of wedlock. He recognized many of them, bestowing noble titles and celebrating their births with lavish festivities that echoed through the halls of his estate. In the midst of it all, the rightful lineage found itself without offspring, as though fate were weaving a tale with a twist of irony. In the midst of the controversies, Charles captivated the hearts of many. He brought the theaters back to life, embraced merriment, and revived the monarchy with a touch of elegance. Extravagant wigs and an abundance of eyeliner that outshone even his leading ladies. The people excused all his missteps, primarily because he transformed the monarchy into a grand celebration. As he took his last breath, his parting words echoed with a poignant simplicity: "Let not poor Nellie starve." No grand declarations of loyalty to England, no calls for wise governance to his brother, just a heartfelt plea to ensure the mistress was fed. And there you have it, dear friends, a portrait of Charles II, a monarch who ruled as if he were orchestrating the grand finale of a royal bachelor season. In the years between 1560 and 1568, Eric XIV of Sweden ascended to the throne. A brief yet impactful reign that would be remembered for its shadows of paranoia, the beauty of poetry, and a series of disastrous romantic entanglements. In the beginning, Eric showed great potential. Behold a regal figure, striking in stature and appearance, with a heart that dances to the rhythms of the cosmos and creativity. Picture a monarch who, with eloquence, might weave a sonnet of affection, only to later unravel the mysteries of celestial paths as you share a meal beneath the stars. His fascination with astrology was profound, guiding his every choice as he sought the wisdom of the stars before making any decision. Alas, the celestial bodies never whispered a word of calm to him. Eric was captivated by noble women, but not in the delicate, secretive manner one might expect in a moonlit garden. He made his heartfelt proposals to Queen Elizabeth I of England on several occasions, each time met with her gracious yet resolute refusals. Culminating in a silence that spoke volumes, Eric, oblivious to the subtle cues, went so far as to send portraits of himself as gifts. It was akin to the 16th century version of slipping into someone's DMs with a shirtless selfie and a marriage proposal. Once Elizabeth vanished from his life, Eric adjusted his expectations, aiming for a different kind of connection, though his spirit remained undeterred. He found himself enchanted by Corinne Munstaughter, humble commoner and the daughter of a jailer. The nobility was scandalized, and this only fueled Eric's determination to press on even further. He took her hand in marriage, adorned her with a crown, and then plunged into a tumultuous year filled with emotional upheavals, confining nobles and confronting anyone whose gaze lingered on her for too long. What was his most notorious episode? At the Storer murders, a seemingly ordinary dinner party took a dark turn when Eric, in a fit of rage, plunged a knife into a noble, his frantic shouts leaving his courtiers to wonder if the stars had truly driven him mad. At this juncture, he found himself listening to whispers, concealing his presence from unseen foes, and at times donning various disguises to observe his own counsel in secret. In a dramatic turn of events, the nobility orchestrated an intervention that, in the grand tapestry of royal affairs, resulted in him being confined within the castle walls while the crown was passed to his brother. Eric found himself confined, for the remainder of his days, pouring his heart into strange love poems dedicated to Corinne, teared by disservant tirades about hidden plots. All while likely lamenting the fateful moment, he plunged a knife into that man during dinner. Eric's reign, Sweden, gathered valuable insights. Always be vigilant with your dinner guests, for hidden blades may lurk in the shadows. Steer clear of kings who pen their own horoscopes. And perhaps, just perhaps, refrain from crowning the man who claims the moon is murmuring secrets of betrayal. In the mid-15th century, Ferdinand I of Naples, often referred to as Ferdinand of Aragon, emerged as a ruler whose presence was marked by an intriguing mix of charisma and ruthlessness, alongside a peculiar pastime that would surely send most guests fleeing from the dinner table at first glance. Ferdinand appeared to be a refined and capable leader. He brought harmony to his realm, deftly managed the coffers, and swiftly quelled uprisings with remarkable prowess. Yet, his approach to leadership embraced a charming authoritarianism, sprinkled with elements of mind games. For instance, consider his method of dealing with adversaries. In the realm of power, while some monarchs chose to cast out those who betrayed them, others opted for the cold confines of imprisonment. Ferdinand, he favored the art of stuffing them. Indeed, the art of preserving humans through taxidermy. Following the execution of the rebellious nobles, he had their bodies embalmed and showcased in a secret museum hidden beneath his castle. In a place known as the Black Room, he led guided tours for foreign dignitaries, visiting ambassadors, and even those who might be deemed traitors. Nothing conveys the essence of good behavior quite. It's like unveiling a collection of preserved political blunders. He was said to take pleasure in recounting the details of each lifeless form, sharing their names, the crimes they committed, and the expressions frozen on their faces. Some were captured in the throes of a scream, while others bore plaques as silent witnesses to their tales. A guest succumbed to the overwhelming atmosphere and fainted. Ferdinand couldn't help but burst into laughter. If TripAdvisor had been around, the reviews would have glimmered with 5 stars, yet carried an air of deep unease, leaving one to ponder a return only with the aid of a sedative in the shadows. Of his role as the curator of Europe's most unsettling gallery, Ferdinand wove a tale of romance that was just as enigmatic and dubious. He sired a multitude of unacknowledged offspring, many of whom appeared out of the shadows adorned with titles and estates that seemed to materialize from thin air. His official queen was merely one among a multitude, and it is believed that Ferdinand regarded marriage as more of a gentle nudge than a binding decree. His lovers spanned the spectrum from aristocrats to commoners, united only by his utter lack of concern for subtlety. In the grand halls of royalty, lavish banquets often transformed into playful arenas of courtly charm and intrigue. One ambassador remarked that Ferdinand never partook in a meal without indulging in a variety of courses, both political and otherwise. And yet, through it all, Ferdinand continued to capture the hearts of many. His people revered his might. Nobles trembled at his presence, and adversaries, upon glimpsing the ominous Black Room, swiftly abandoned any thoughts of insurrection. For decades, he held the reins of power, eventually drawing his last breath in the comfort of his own bed, before entrusting the kingdom to his somewhat legitimate heirs. What tale does Ferdinand's legacy weave? In a realm where peace reigns, a chilling underbelly lurks beneath the surface, revealing that while some rulers forge bonds, others gather omens like precious artifacts encased in glass for all to see. In the year of our Lord, 1119, the remnants of the First Crusade lingered in the air, a whisper of history woven into the shattered stones of Jerusalem. Christian pilgrims journeyed to the Holy Land in great numbers, filled with hope that the sacred city was now secure. Yet beyond the city walls, a tempest of turmoil reigned. Rogues roamed the highways. Fierce bands of warriors descended upon caravans, leaving a trail of devastation as travelers met grim fates, either slaughtered or captured for a life of servitude. The vision of Christian security in the East was crumbling before our eyes. In that moment, a valiant knight known as Hugues de Payens, accompanied by 8 loyal companions, pledged an oath, not to a monarch, not to a noble, but to the divine. With unwavering devotion, they vowed to safeguard Christian pilgrims, embracing their roles not merely as warriors but as guardians of faith and spirit. They pledged themselves to a life of simplicity, purity, and unwavering loyalty. Without wives, without gold, without lands, only horses, swords, and unwavering faith remain. They refer to themselves as the humble companions of Christ and the guardians of the Temple of Solomon. A mouthful indeed, yet that concluding phrase held significance. For it was King Baldwin II who granted them quarters upon the Temple Mount, where the remnants of Solomon's temple lay. From this sacred soil, they drew their name, the Knights Templar. For 9 years they existed as a small band, unrecognized, lacking resources, yet fiercely devoted. They existed in a state of humble desperation, donning borrowed armor, sharing steeds of war, and training with relentless fervor. Yet, within their ranks lay a fierce discipline, unwavering devotion, and a palpable danger. And soon, their name began to echo far and wide. Before long, their unique fusion of monk and warrior drew the gaze of one of the most powerful figures in Christendom, Bernard of Clairvaux. Bernard was not just any abbot, he was a beacon of spiritual charisma. When he spoke, even the highest of the high paused to hear, for he perceived a spark of the divine within these figures. In the year 1129, at the esteemed Council of Troyes, played a pivotal role in crafting the official rule of the Templars, a strict monastic code imbued with a sense of martial duty. He hailed them as the modern champions, a sacred brotherhood, who battled not for fame, but for the divine. With Bernard's blessing and the Pope's approval, the Knights Templar transformed from a ragtag group of outcasts into a formidable force. They emerged as a sacred fellowship, blessed by celestial decree. Contributions surged forth as youthful nobles cast aside their lavish existences to unite with their cause. From the dust of Jerusalem, the Templars emerged, sacred, ravenous, and now undeniably unstoppable. Little did they know that their most cherished gift, the freedom of papal independence, would eventually become a harbinger of their doom. With papal recognition in hand and their white mantles adorned with blood-red crosses, the Knights Templar transformed from mere monks wielding swords into the formidable shock troops of Christendom. In the Levant, the Crusade estates stood as delicate bastions of Christianity, surrounded by the relentless waves of Islamic opposition. The Templars emerged as the steadfast barrier, holding back the encroaching tide. In the heart of battle, their code rang out with a fierce clarity: never yield, unless the odds stacked against you were 3-1. There are no demands, no compassion, no trepidation. With unwavering dedication, they honed their skills each day, engaging in battles with fervent resolve, convinced that meeting their end in combat was the ultimate accolade. In a world where many knights sought glory and treasure, the Templars stood apart, driven by an unwavering conviction that sent shivers down the spines of their foes. They rode forth as the embodiment of divine wrath, fierce and untamed. During the Second Crusade, they demonstrated their true value. As the lords, lost in their own chaos, squabbled and missed their chance to seize Damascus, the Templars stood resolute, cutting through the ranks of their foes with unwavering precision. In the heat of skirmishes and the chaos of open battles, their charges transformed into tales of legend. Their prowess was only part of the tale. It was their legacy that truly resonated. In the chronicles of conflict, the Muslim commanders first noted them in the battle reports, those fearsome figures draped in white, marked by the bold red cross. They didn't merely engage in battle, they built their defenses with unwavering resolve in the heart of the Holy Land. The Templars wove a formidable tapestry of castles and outposts, including Seift, Tortosa, and the grand fortress of Bagres. These were not mere decorative properties. Templar castles stood as formidable fortresses, with thick walls and trap-laden gates crafted for defense, with water systems engineered to endure prolonged sieges. When armies retreated, the Templars remained steadfast, either to hold the line or to meet their fate. Yet their loyalty lay not with kings or emperors, but solely with the Pope, marking them as a unique faction, one that evoked both admiration and fear among rulers. No king held sway over them, no baron could tempt them with riches. Only the Grand Master, selected from among us, held the power to command whether we would engage in battle or lay down our arms. They stood resolute in their essence. Even as they sacrificed for the emblem of their faith, they were not merely enlisting warriors, they were crafting a legend. In hushed whispers, they conducted their ceremonies, shrouded in secrecy, with rites that bore a stark simplicity, and a discipline that was unwavering. To some, they were revered, while to others, they cast a shadow of foreboding. And yet their allure only deepened. From humble beginnings, as 9 dusty knights, they evolved into a prestigious order that now stretches across continents. Yet, as the light of recognition shone bright, shadows of murmurs began to creep in. And with those murmurs, the bitter taste of jealousy emerged. The blade of the divine had grown keen, yet there would come a day when it would be aimed at them. They embarked on their journey, clad in borrowed armor, bound by a solemn vow of poverty, yet, in the span of 100 years, the Knights Templar transformed from mere warriors into the most esteemed financial institution the world had ever known. They embarked on a journey that led them far from the world of banking. Conflict forged their wealth, belief earned their trust, and need sparked their ingenuity. It all began with the act of giving. With fervent hearts, the nobles bestowed upon the Holy Land treasures beyond measureland, gold, livestock, and even entire villages, all in a show of unwavering support. The Templars didn't merely stash it away. They orchestrated its use with precision and foresight. Across the vast expanse of Europe, they established commanderies, transforming agricultural estates into models of efficiency and enterprise. All was meticulously tallied, from grain and livestock to taxes and tithes. A monk in England may soon find himself sending funds to aid a conflict in Jerusalem, all within a matter of weeks. Such a reach was truly remarkable, and thus the banking system emerged. Nobleman journeying to the Holy Land found himself relieved of the burden of transporting a chest of coins in the bustling heart of Paris. He found himself able to entrust his funds to the Templars, receiving, in return, a mysterious coded letter that would allow him to reclaim the very same amount in the distant land of Acre. In the annals of finance, this marked the dawn of international banking. With a sense of purpose, the Templars set their fees. With care, maintaining detailed accounts, and always honoring their commitments. In a time long before the nation of Switzerland came to be, They emerged as the financial fortresses of the medieval era. Their audience, rulers, nobles, clergy, and traders, they protected the illustrious treasures of the French crown, orchestrated the intricate finances of the papacy, financed noble crusades, negotiated the release of captives in certain instances. They extended their generosity to the very rulers who would eventually seek their downfall. The Templars kept their riches discreet. They wore neither silk nor gold. But their presence spoke volumes. Their places of worship were unadorned, their garments modest. Yet hidden beneath that stern exterior lay a vast realm of ledgers, vaults, and armored wagons, an unseen force that influenced nearly every economy across Europe. And yet they steadfastly declined to embrace the title of bankers. In a realm of tranquility, they were monks. All their actions, they professed, were dedicated to the divine purpose. Yet, with each piece of gold they shifted, a new foe emerged. From the shadows, the Church chose to overlook the truth. Ultimately, the Templars were beholden solely to the Pope. Yet, the rulers began to feel a sense of unease. They found themselves in the grip of the Templars, burdened by debts that loomed like shadows, and their power slipped through their fingers like sand. What started as a quest to protect travelers had transformed into something far more peculiar. They were valiant souls without a war to fight, seekers of peace without a sacred place, guardians of wealth without a realm to protect. As their treasures piled high, so too did the shadows of doubt loom larger. Authority unexamined. That's when rulers begin to hone their blades. Despite their formidable strength, the Templars found themselves engaged in a battle that seemed destined for defeat. The Crusader states, outreamers stood like castles in the sand, ever at the mercy of the relentless waves of Islamic resurgence. At the forefront of that wave was Saladin, the remarkable Sultan of Egypt and Syria. In contrast to the chaotic and frequently trivial Crusader lords, Saladin emerged as a beacon of unity. He was driven by a singular ambition: reclaim the heart of Jerusalem. The year 1187, the vision came to fruition at the Battle of Hat. In that moment, the Templars stood resolute, battling with unwavering determination until the very end. Yet they found themselves overwhelmed, outsmarted, outmatched, and encircled in the blistering heat, leading to the complete destruction of the Christian army. Saladin seized a multitude of knights, their fates intertwined with the tides of history. Many found their way back through the art of negotiation. Yet, when the tale turned to the Templars, show no compassion. He carried out nearly all of them. To Saladin, they posed a threat too great to allow them to continue breathing. The fall of Jerusalem was more than a mere defeat on the battlefield. It was a profound moment of inner turmoil. The city they had vowed to safeguard had vanished into the ether. The Holy Sepulchre had returned to the embrace of the Muslim community. And thus, the foundational mission of the Templars started to unravel. Yet they came together once more. Amidst the tumult of the Third Crusade, a formidable force emerged, led by none other than Richard the Lionheart. This legendary figure, known for his valor, held the Templars in high regard, counting on their unwavering support in the heat of battle. Yet even he found himself unable to reclaim Jerusalem as the years unfolded. The Crusader states dwindled, fading away like the last flickers of a once mighty fire. One by one, the city succumbed to their fate. Once upon a time, there were three significant places: Antioch, Tripoli, and ultimately Acre. In the year 1291, in a fateful turn of events, the final bastion of the Templars in the Holy Land fell from their grasp. They withdrew to Cyprus, establishing new headquarters in a quest to preserve their significance. Yet a change had taken place. They remained fierce fighters, yet the sacred ground they once protected had vanished. What was the cause of their struggle? Once, their grand castles loomed in silence, void of life. Their tales became shrouded in dust. Their once proud discipline began to wane, slipping away like a whisper in the wind. Competing factions such as the Hospitallers began to flourish. Whispers of pride, corruption, and arrogance trailed the Templars like shadows throughout Europe. Some murmured that they had amassed wealth beyond measure, shrouded in mystery, Whispers floated through the air, claiming they were gathering relics, perilous treasures from the past. The East had molded them, tempered them, and shattered them, and now stripped of it. The Templars found themselves lost at sea. They retained their riches, their connections, their commanding presence. Yet they had forfeited the very essence that rendered them indispensable. A blade untouched by battle, a fellowship without a quest. In that silence, formidable foes lay, in wait, their eyes keen and watchful, as the first light of the 14th century broke. The Knights Templar remained a force to be reckoned with, wealthy, formidable, and influential. Yet for the very first time in their tale, they found themselves cast aside, fading into the background. Once upon a time, the Holy Land slipped from grasp. The age of crusades had faded into the distance. They transformed into a formidable military, faction devoid of conflict, a spiritual collective lacking a defined purpose, and a financial titan that bowed to no sovereign. Thus they became a target. None regarded them with greater wariness or avarice than King Philip IV of France. Referred to as Philip the Fair, his title did not stem from any notions of equity. He found himself ensnared in a web of debt, his fortunes shattered by the relentless battles against England and Flanders. What of the Templars? They were the ones to whom he owed a debt. He had taken great loans from them to finance his legions and maintain his reign. Yet Philip found himself uneasy with the weight of debt, particularly when it was owed to those beyond his influence. Even more troubling, the Templars held a position of political independence. They responded solely to the call, not to the crown. They possessed territory in France, yet owed no tribute to the king. In their realms, they built mighty fortresses, established grand courts, commanded formidable armies. To Philip, they existed as a perilous realm within his own, beyond reach, steadfast, and opulently wealthy. Thus, he set forth on his journey of planning. Philip's narrative engine sprang into action. Whispers circulated that the Templars engaged in idol worship, desecrated the cross, and partook in scandalous initiation ceremonies. Only murmurs linger in the air, devoid of proof. Yet in a time steeped in belief and wonder, mere murmurs held great power. He rested against his puppet pope, Clement V, urging the papacy to delve into the matter. Clement paused, yet Philip pressed on without a second thought. In the shadows, Philip masterfully crafted one of the most intricate mass arrests in the annals of medieval history. On a fateful Friday morning in October 1307, he marked the day, rallied his warriors, summoned his torturers, and with a chilling resolve, he made his move. Throughout the land of France, the Templar Knights faced capture, intense questioning, confinement, and torment. Confessions emerged under duress. Some shattered in mere hours. Some fought back with all their might, but eventually their bodies betrayed them. It was a betrayal cloaked in sacred righteousness, and it succeeded. Once steadfast, the crowd began to waver. In a moment of great tension, the Pope, feeling the weight of the world upon him, discovered he was trapped with no way out. The winds of change had shifted, not upon the battlefield, but within the realm of politics. Once the valiant warrior monks charged fearlessly into the heart of battle, but now they languished in dark dungeons, bound by chains and burdened with accusations that no blade could shield them from. On the 13th day of October in the year of our Lord 1307, on that fateful day, a shadow was cast over Friday the 13th, stealing its fate in the minds of many across the West. As the first light of dawn broke over the land, shadows stirred. In every corner of France, where armed men glided through the stillness, their presence a whisper in the morning air. Their instructions rang with unmistakable clarity. Capture each and every Templar that crosses your path. Without a whisper of caution, no defiance permitted. With the arrival of the king's justice, the air crackled with tension, swords gleaming, and warrants cloaked in mystery. Countless knights were wrenched from their slumber. Some clad in their shining armor, others caught in the midst of fervent prayer. In the heart of Paris, Grand Master Jacques de Molay found himself ensnared, victim of treachery from the very realm whose crown jewels he had once dutifully protected. In the shadows of bustling cities and serene countryside, the Templar commanderies faced relentless raids, their vaults pried open and their precious libraries taken into the night. The accusations were nothing short of extraordinary. Whispers of rebellion, adoration of false idols, disdain for the sacred, forbidden desires, and dark ceremonies under the moonlight. Much of it was spun from the imagination of Philip's legal team. Yet, in a time marked by trepidation and fervent devotion, the truth was of little consequence. It simply had to resonate with truth. And what of the Templars? They were hushed by flames and steel. Darkness fell over France as the chilling glow of torture chambers flickered to life. Men endured the most harrowing of trials, their bodies twisted and tormented until their secrets flowed forth like crimson streams. They confessed to all that their questioners desired, that they renounced Christ, that they revered a severed head known as Baphomet, that they engaged in secret ceremonies filled with forbidden kisses. In the depths of excruciating torment, even the esteemed Grand Master Damal found himself confessing, only to later withdraw his words. It was a grand performance cloaked in the guise of justice. A ruler unleashing his wrath upon those who lent him gold, branding them with accusations so vile that silence enveloped the land, leaving no soul brave enough to speak in their defense. In a moment of profound disgrace, Pope Clement V found himself. In a position of utter humiliation, he had attempted to find common ground, yet Philip surged ahead with a relentless and unyielding force. With nowhere left to turn, Clement took matters into his own hands and set forth on a quest for the truth. Other nations, such as England and Spain, paused in their decision-making. In numerous instances, the charges were cast aside or the Templars were set free. Yet in France, the relentless gears of judgment continued to turn. Philip seized their riches, yet a significant portion vanished without a trace. There were hushed murmurs that the Templars had relocated their fabled treasure. Some insisted it remained lost to the ages. Yet some proclaimed that the true treasure lay not in gold, but in the wisdom, the secrets, the relics, the Holy Grail, and the Ark of the Covenant. Regardless of the reality, the harm had already been inflicted. The Templars had ceased to be a brotherhood. They were wanderers of the night, shadows of their former selves, souls adrift in a world that had forgotten them. The monarchs struck not with swords or shields, but with the power of words, flames, and deception. And from that moment on, the world would forever view the Red Cross through a different lens. By 1312, the conclusion loomed large on the horizon. Once, the Knights Templar stood as the mightiest military order in all of Christendom. But now they languished as shattered souls confined within shadowy cells. Their confessions, extracted through unimaginable pain, served as the grim rationale. For the horrors that followed, and what unfolded next, was a gradual unraveling. Amidst the heavy hand of King Philip IV, Pope Clement V took a decisive step at the Council of Vienne in March 1312, officially dissolving the Templar order. The papal bulwarks in Excelso stripped them of their titles, their holdings, and their very essence. In the annals of history, the Templars had vanished from existence. The Holy See proclaimed it an act of compassion rather than a judgment, yet a vital measure to avert additional scandal. In truth, it was a calculated act of political retribution cloaked in the guise of religious authority, while the order's properties found their way to the Knights Hospitaller. Not all treasures journeyed alongside them. Wealth, treasures, ledgers, and whispered relics simply slipped away into the shadows. Whispers filled the air. Some insisted it lay concealed in the shadows, while others were convinced it had been silently claimed by Philip's treasury. In any scenario, the grand financial empire of the Templars vanished into thin air, leaving a trail of lingering questions in its wake. Yet, the concluding chapter remained unwritten. In the year of our Lord 1314, the valiant Grand Master, Jacques Damal, having endured 7 arduous years of confinement, was summoned forth to a scaffold in the heart of Paris. He faced execution alongside Geoffroy de Charnay, a fellow senior Templar. In a dramatic twist, both individuals withdrew their confessions, steadfastly proclaiming the order's innocence. Their unwavering defiance would ultimately lead them to the flames. Upon a small island in the Seine, they found themselves bound to a wooden stake, their fate hanging in the balance. As the flames danced higher, Damal's voice pierced the thick smoke, invoking the divine to pass judgment on those who had sealed his fate. In a tale woven through time, he cast a dark curse upon both King Philip and Pope Clement, prophesying their demise within the year. And so it came to pass. Clement fell victim to illness in just a month's time. Philip arrived later that year, unexpected and abrupt, like a twist in a tale. Some murmured it was the hand of fate, while others deemed it mere happenstance. Yet the tale endured. The Templars met their end, their final words a haunting curse upon their slayers. The skies bore witness to their plight. Thus the final, authentic echo of the Knights Templar was extinguished in flames, their tale concluded. Not with valor, but with treachery, torment, and fire. Yet even as they vanished from the map, their tale was only just starting to blossom. The flames of the Templar executions may have flickered and faded, yet the embers of their tale glowed with an intensity unmatched. With the order disbanded, their castles seized, and their leaders executed, it appeared as though their tale had reached its conclusion. Yet, an unusual event unfolded. Rather than slipping into obscurity, the Knights Templar evolved from shamed monks into timeless emblems of enigma and strength. The shroud of mystery that had once safeguarded them now gave life to whispers and tales. What became of their treasure? Where had their scrolls vanished, their relics hidden, their sacred knowledge gone? Whispers filled the air, suggesting that the Templars had cunningly whisked away the Holy Grail just before their fateful arrest. Whispers floated through the air, tales of a hidden Ark of the Covenant or the guardianship of Jesus' very own descendants in the realm of uncertainty. Only shadows lingered, whispering secrets untold. Yet, in the realm of the medieval, mere shadows held great significance. Then emerged the notion that the Templars had endured in the shadows. Hidden beneath the surface, even after their official dissolution, a number of former Templars seamlessly wove themselves into the fabric of everyday life. Some embarked on journeys to other monastic orders. Some took up the life of mercenaries. Yet as the tales go, some chose to tread the path of secrecy. In the shadows, they wove together secret brotherhoods, safeguarding their ancient rituals and cherished relics in hushed reverence, waiting patiently for the right moment. Centuries later, those tales transformed into legends. The Templars found themselves at the center of tales both grand and controversial, their influence woven into the very fabric of Gothic cathedrals and the origins of Freemasonry. Whispers of intrigue flourished, suggesting that the Templars held sway over banks, thrones, and revolutions. They had always remained unbroken, merely cloaked in shadows. That behind every significant moment in history, an unseen force in a white cloak shaped the results. The realm of pop culture offered no assistance. The Templars have made their mark across various narratives, appearing in books, games, and films, sometimes celebrated as heroes, other times cast as villains. Don Brown's The Da Vinci Code transformed them into guardians of sacred bloodlines. In the shadows, they wove a tapestry of influence, guiding the course of civilization with deft precision. Every recounting twisted the reality, yet nourished the intrigue. In truth, the Templars were beings of flesh and blood, indeed courageous, imperfect, without a doubt. Devout fighters who sought to blend sacred commitments with the brutality of battle, ultimately facing the consequences of their choices. Yet, legends persist, for they provide what the annals of history frequently fail to deliver: responses, significance, enigma, the true. The Templars met their fate upon the gallows and within the dark confines of dungeons. Ah, but what of the legendary Templars? They continue to gallop through the realms of thought, timeless, shielded, and shrouded in mystery. In that regard, Philip the Fair did not succeed. He shattered their forms. Ah, but what of their tale? Unassailable. Over. 700 years have slipped by since the final Grand Master of the Knights Templar met his fiery fate on the banks of the Seine, yet the Red Cross remains a haunting presence. In the realm of words, in the design of structures, in the ancient symbols etched into weathered stone and murmured through the shadows of intrigue, though the Templars have vanished from the pages of history, their legacy continues to weave its intricate tale through time. They embodied a legacy beyond mere combatants. They were pioneers of creativity. In a time when monarchs governed by the will of the heavens and the act of banking was deemed sinful, the Templars wove together a vast tapestry of finance, logistics, and diplomacy that spanned across Europe. Their letters of credit foreshadowed the advent of modern checks. Their commanderies operated as if they were regional branches of a vast enterprise, each playing a vital role in the grand narrative of commerce and influence. They served as a pioneering model for interconnectedness, forged not through financial exchanges but through blades and solemn oaths. In a grand tapestry of valor and honor, they transformed the very essence of knighthood. In a time before the Templars, chivalry existed as a personal code, one that was adaptable and frequently overlooked. The Templars transformed it into a formidable institution, a discipline upheld with unwavering rigor. They were not solitary heroes battling for fame. They were warriors, honed like elite operatives, ready to sacrifice everything for a lofty vision, and perish they did. Often in quietude, at times in futility, yet never without leaving their mark. They transformed the Western perspective on the intricate dance between faith and conflict. The idea of the warrior monk invites us to reconsider the belief that sanctity and aggression cannot coexist. They revealed how conviction could be transformed into a powerful force wielded not only in warfare, but also in the realms of politics, finance, and the art of persuasion. And when they fell, it was that very conviction in their alleged transgression that sanctioned their demise. Their descent became a lesson etched in the annals of caution. In the annals of history, the Templars emerged as a formidable force, embodying an authority that knew no bounds. Shielded by the Pope's favor, they amassed wealth that rivaled that of monarchs, standing as a testament to their unparalleled influence. Their demise laid bare the delicate nature of institutions, even those cloaked in sacred power. Long past, a grand tale unfolded where the machinations of power were not wielded by shareholders, but by the noble blood of royalty and the might of Rome. Today, they exist more as a legend than a mere mortal. Yet legends mold recollection, and the memory of the Templars, brave, imperfect, and forsaken, serves as a poignant reminder that history is not solely inscribed in triumphs. At times, it lingers in the remnants of smoke. So the next time you encounter a red cross on white cloth, recall that it was once donned by individuals who were convinced they were fulfilling a divine mission, until the tides of politics, ambition, and fear took a different course. In the fierce dance of steel, gold, and fire, a legend emerged. Echoing through the ages, in the heart of 12th century Paris, a tapestry of transformation unfolded. As trade routes unfurled across the lands, universities blossomed into centers of knowledge, while the church asserted its influence with unprecedented vigor. In a time brimming with aspiration, the realms of politics, spirituality, art, and architecture flourished. In the heart of this burgeoning city, there rose a vision crafted from stone. That dream was woven by Maurice de Sully, the Bishop of Paris, in the year 1160. He emerged not merely as a servant of the divine, but as a beacon of foresight and imagination. The Cathedral of Saint-Étienne stood in a state of decay, lacking the grandeur one might hope for. As Paris expanded, the spiritual core of the city yearned to reflect its burgeoning grandeur. Thus, de Sully envisioned grander dreams, far beyond the ordinary. He envisioned a cathedral of such grandeur, such breathtaking scale, that it would overshadow all that surrounded it. A tribute not solely to the Virgin Mary, but to the enduring strength and magnificence of the Catholic Church in France. This would not resemble the Romanesque fortresses that came before it. It would be an entirely fresh experience, a bold departure steeped in the dark and mysterious. In the year of our Lord 1163, that dream began to weave itself into reality. In a moment steeped in tradition, it was Pope Alexander III who personally placed the first stone, accompanied by a ceremonial blessing that echoed through the ages. On the eastern end, choir and apse came to life, a place where priests would eventually raise their voices in hymns, surrounded by the majestic embrace of soaring arches crafted from glass and stone. This was far from an ordinary creation. Notre Dame stood as more than mere stone and mortar. It embodied a legacy woven through the fabric of generations. Thus, spirited souls of Paris stonemasons, blacksmiths, carpenters, and artists embarked on their noble endeavor. They transported limestone from the nearby quarries meticulously, shaped it with tools from a bygone era, and erected scaffolding that reached for the sky. Each block was meticulously placed by hand, every carving, every window, every rib of the vault shaped with unwavering patience, deep faith, and hard-earned sweat. Completing even the initial sections would span across decades. The workers toiled, fully aware that they would never witness the completion of the towering structures. Fathers passed down their chisels to their sons, a legacy of craftsmanship and tradition. As the years flowed by, Notre Dame stood tall, magnificent beacon, gracefully ascending above the enchanting Parisian skyline. Yet for Bishop de Sully, the objective was unmistakable: to create a sanctuary so grand that the very act of stepping inside would bring one to a place of deep reverence. Notre Dame was destined for more than merely serving as a church. It was a creation etched in permanence, a tribute to the heights humanity could reach when it aspired for the divine. What lay ahead was just the start of an unfolding tale. What unfolded next would transform both the silhouette and the spirit of medieval Europe. In the unfolding tapestry of the 1170s, Notre Dame emerged, not merely as a building, but as an emblem of something greater. In a city where timber houses stood shoulder to shoulder and muddy streets wound like whispers, and the cathedral emerged, rising majestically above the skyline as if delivering a silent sermon in stone. In its early days, the Gothic style was on the brink of transforming churches into something far beyond mere places of worship. They were destined to become vessels of wonder and inspiration. The journey unfolded from the east to the west, starting with the choir, a place destined for priests to carry out sacred rites, and then flowing into the nave, the expansive area meant for the congregation of the faithful. Behold, the architecture that changed everything. The walls whispered secrets. The ceilings soared like dreams. The pointed arches gracefully channeled the weight of history, and those ribbed vaults, they held stories untold. They not only upheld the ceiling, but also lifted their voices, guiding both gaze and spirit toward the divine. Yet among all the ideas, the one that shone the brightest was light. In contrast to the shadowy Romanesque churches of yesteryear, Notre Dame was crafted to radiate with brilliance. Grand stained glass windows emerged, casting vibrant hues into intricate patterns of sacred geometry. As the sun ascends, vivid tales from Scripture awaken, painting the world with their brilliance. The church had transcended mere storytelling. It was now casting light upon them. Each element of Notre Dame held a story of its own. The columns stood not merely as supports. They embodied the essence of saints. The archways held more than mere beauty. They were gateways to redemption. The stone embodied the essence of belief, while the masons crafted its narrative. Meanwhile, beyond the walls, Paris was undergoing a remarkable transformation. The cathedral pulsed with life, surrounded by bustling markets, the sound of sermons reverberating across the Seine, while eager students from the rising University of Paris congregated in its embrace. Notre Dame transcended mere architecture. It was evolving into the very heartbeat of the city. Alas, the journey unfolded at a languid pace. In a world devoid of cranes and power tools, the scene was painted with sheer muscle wooden scaffolding. In an unwavering spirit that knew no bounds, countless souls labored tirelessly, season after season. As one life faded, another emerged, to To fill the void, names often slip through the cracks of history, seldom captured in the annals of time. What they gained was not recognition, but belief. They crafted their legacy not for their own sake, but for the divine and for the future yet to come. By the year 1200, the choir and a significant portion of the nave rose majestically, reaching towards the heavens. The contours of an extraordinary event were beginning to emerge. Notre Dame had transformed from a mere dream into a vivid reality. It was a blend of solid stone and shimmering glass. It's infused with the essence of sweat and the weight of prayer as the edifice soared into the heavens. So too did the dreams of those who crafted it. For what lay ahead would challenge the very laws of nature and logic. Notre Dame stood as a marvel, a creation that the city had never witnessed before, yet it carried with it an air of perilous ambition. As the walls ascended and the vaulted ceilings stretched towards the heavens, a dilemma began to unfold. The burden. The stone ceilings pushed against the air, expanding their presence in every direction. Not merely descending, the soaring vaults ascended ever higher, their presence, a looming force that seemed intent on prying the walls asunder. In the era of Romanesque architecture, the challenge of light and space was met with robust walls and diminutive windows, creating a unique atmosphere within those sacred spaces. Yet Notre Dame was crafted to exhale life, to radiate warmth, to stretch towards the skies in both essence and expanse. In that moment, the masons embarked on a groundbreaking endeavor. They embraced a daring architectural concept, one that was still in its infancy, and soared with it, the flying buttress. These were not just simple supports, external arms of stone gracefully arched from the upper walls, reaching down to solid piers that stood apart from the main building. Like the bony wings of a great beast, they supported the cathedral from without, channeling the immense pressure of the ceiling down into the earth, where it would cause no destruction. From the earth below, they appeared ethereally fragile, reminiscent of intricate lace crafted from limestone. Yet, they were masters of their craft, enabling Notre Dame to transform into what it was destined to be, a marvel of air, light, and breathtaking elevation. The introduction of flying buttresses transformed the landscape entirely. As the weight lifted from the interior walls, the builders seized the opportunity to introduce an abundance of windows. The magnificent rose windows, immense circles of vibrant stained glass, showcasing saints, angels, and the end of days, had transformed from mere fantasy into reality. They transformed into existence. Vibrant hues burst forth in the hallowed ground as divine narratives flowed not only from the pulpit, but also from the very rays of sunlight. Interestingly, the initial designs for Notre Dame did not feature the iconic flying buttresses. The early architects of the Gothic era were still on the journey to uncover their true capabilities. Yet, as the edifice expanded, so too did the burden. The masons adjusted in real time, quite literally. In the early 1200s, they embarked on a journey of transformation, crafting stone wings that transcended mere necessity, blossoming into a form of poetry. At that moment, opinions among the critics were sharply split. Some perceived the exposed supports as a blemish, disrupting the elegant outline of the structure. Yet the majority remained spellbound. Notre Dame appeared as though it was being cradled by stone angels caught in the act of soaring through the air. The cathedral had transformed, becoming more than merely a sanctuary for the divine. It was a vibrant testament to the incredible creations that arise when belief intertwines with numbers. A melody etched in stone that defies the weight of the world, and its wings were only just starting to unfurl. In the early 1200s, the majestic Notre Dame began to weave its tale into the fabric of the Parisian skyline, yet its most iconic elements were still in the process of unfolding. As the eastern end approached its final touches, the gaze turned toward the west. What emerged there would transform into the visage of the cathedral, the aspect that would capture the attention of all who beheld it first. The twin towers rise majestically, their monumental west facade telling a tale of grandeur and resilience. This facade held secrets beyond mere entry. It was a declaration, enigmatic, grand, and influential. The church loomed ahead, designed to evoke a sense of insignificance as you drew near, and it triumphed. The doors reached heights that defied imagination. Overhead, a procession of intricately carved kings, prophets, saints, and demons observed, each passerby with an unwavering gaze. You were stepping into a realm of possibilities. You were stepping into a realm of profound reckoning. Amidst the bustling activity, the West Towers began to rise around the 12th and 20th, marking the start of a new chapter in their creation. As with all things at Notre Dame, the completion stretched over many decades. Each tower ascended in layers, piece by piece, climbing ever higher until they soared to nearly 70 meters in height. And yet, they remained unfinished, their original vision forever just out of reach. There are no soaring spires or sharp needle points here, only grand flat-topped silhouettes that stand tall in their unadorned elegance. Amidst the towering structures lay the Gallery of Kings, where 28 statues stood as silent sentinels, each one a representation of the monarchs of Judah. Yet, in a twist of fate during the tumult of the French Revolution, they were mistaken for French royalty and met a tragic end at the hands of furious mobs, their heads severed in a moment of chaos. Yet, in the 13th century, a distinct message was conveyed. By the grace of the cosmos, celestial hierarchy unfolds, a revered governance that transcends the earthly realm. In a world where the sacred and the sovereign intertwined, this was their welcoming threshold. Below them, the three grand portals stood as a narrative carved in stone, weaving tales of theology and wonder. At the heart of it all, the portal of the Last Judgment stood, intricately carved with Christ, enthroned in glory, surrounded by angels, demons, and the souls of the resurrected, ascending from their graves. For those who could not read, these images held a deeper significance beyond mere embellishment, embodied the essence of belief. The invitation was unmistakable. Approach with respect. Here begins the endless tale. Above the doors, a magnificent rose window unfurled, nearly 10 meters in diameter, encased in delicate tracery, and accompanied by statues of the Virgin Mary and Child. Light streamed through the stained glass, casting ethereal images of saints upon the nave, as if the heavens themselves were illuminating the sacred space. As the mid-1200s approached, the towers stood on the brink of completion, their silhouettes rising against the horizon. The facade rose in its entirety, a grand testament to symmetry and solemnity, evoking a sense of awe. It stood as a bastion of belief, a proclamation of divine power, and a cautionary tale for the wayward soul. And yet, the builders continued. Their work, their journey far from complete. The essence of Notre Dame awaited its final touches. The transept stands tall, as the roof arches gracefully, and the spire reaches upward, destined to touch the very clouds above. Visage. At this moment, they would bestow upon it a crown. As the towers and west facade rose majestically against the sky, Notre Dame was transforming into something far beyond mere stone and mortar. It craved a spirit, and that spirit resided within. Nestled in the grand stretch of its nave, its transepts, and its hallowed choir, in these hallowed spaces, the echoes of monks' voices would resonate. The regal footsteps of kings would tread. The fervent prayers of countless souls would rise. As the mid-1200s approached, dedicated hands of craftsmen turned their attention to the transepts. Those majestic arms of the cross-shaped design that bestowed upon Gothic cathedrals their legendary floor plan. Under the guidance of architect Jean Descales and later Pierre de Montreux, these wings blossomed and were embellished with new rose windows, each more intricate than those gracing the western end. In the north transept, a radiant window cast its enchanting glow, enveloping the space in serene blues and ethereal purples. The southern lands, ablaze with warmth, radiate a divine essence that captivates the soul. These were not merely design choices. They were a vibrant expression of belief. The northern window symbolized the Old Testament, while the southern window embodied the New. The two wings narrated the complete tale of redemption, one bathed in radiant light, the other ablaze with fire. Within the cathedral's embrace, the columns reached skyward, reminiscent of mighty trees standing tall in a stony woodland. Soaring ceilings reached an impressive height of nearly 35 meters. Their ribbed arches converging gracefully, reminiscent of hands clasped in devotion. This transcended mere architecture. It was a dance, an ascent that lifted the spirit toward the divine. And then, in the heart of it all, stood the altar. A revered focal point of the realm, the Mass was joyfully celebrated here in this place. Cherished remnants were honored, and here the finest of France gathered to bow in reverence. Once upon a time, there were grand royal weddings, majestic coronation masses, and momentous papal visits. Notre Dame emerged as the sacred backdrop for the very essence of the nation. Yet it was not solely the elite who graced these walls. People gathered as well. Traders, farmers, wanderers. The cathedral transformed into a communal haven, resonating with the cadence of sermons, melodies, and the rare admonition from the pulpit. It was a realm where wonders unfolded, or where one could plead for a glimpse of the extraordinary dot, each surface within whispered tales. The sculptures, the stained glass, and even the floor tiles shared their narratives. Notre Dame was not merely a sanctuary for the divine. It embodied the very essence of it. Faith danced in every corner, etched in stone, wafting through the air like incense. Shimmering from the glass. As the 13th century drew to a close, the interior had taken shape, and the cathedral's spirit pulsed with vigor, yet it remained incomplete, yearning for a crown to ascend to the skies. And so it was that they set forth to construct the magnificent spire. As the 1200s drew to a close, Notre Dame stood as a testament to wonder, its presence almost otherworldly. The towers reached for the heavens, the nave resonated with sacred melodies, and the rose windows bathed the interior in a celestial glow. Yet there lingered a sense of awe and complete. The cathedral bore a visage, a soul, and outstretched wings, yet it lacked a crown. No vertical element to guide the gaze past the roofline and into the sky above. It was then that the vision for the spire took shape. In contrast to the twin towers, which stood with a weighty presence, the spire would rise with a graceful elegance. Reaching skyward, emerges from the intersection of the transept, precisely at the heart of the church's cross-shaped design. Crafted from sturdy oak and adorned with lead, the original spire emerged as a remarkable feat of engineering and a profound expression of faith. This was more than mere adornment. It stood as the exclamation point of Notre Dame, its most prominent prayer. The creation of this marvel called upon the finest artisans, skilled in the ways of wood and metal alike. With great effort, the sturdy oak beams were lifted by the strength of human hands, aided by winches, pulleys, and the careful construction of scaffolding. The design needed to be both airy and robust, able to endure the fierce winds that swept through Paris from the Seine. Upon completion, the spire soared into the heavens, a blade raised in reverence. And beneath it, a tapestry of intricate work was weaving itself into existence. From the depths of stone, the bizarre and haunting figures of gargoyles came to life. They were grotesque for a purpose, each detail woven into a narrative that demanded attention. Numerous structures acted as channels, guiding the rain away from the stonework. Some served as symbols, protectors designed to ward off malevolence, or to serve as a haunting reminder to wrongdoers of the consequences that lay ahead. In the concluding chapter, a multitude of chimeras emerged. Statues of fantastical creatures looming over Paris, their gaze eternally sweeping across the skyline. They were a haunting blend of terror and wonder, entwined in a dark romance with enigma and meaning. Within those sacred walls, the chapels stood finished, with intricately carved choir stalls and revered relics carefully enshrined. Notre Dame had come alive, a divine mechanism and a grand theater for the nation. After more than 100 years of toil, countless hands had labored, fueled by the unwavering belief of a whole realm. By 1345, nearly 200 years after the first stone was laid, the cathedral was deemed finished. Yet finished was never quite the right term. Notre Dame has always been a living tapestry, evolving through the ages. It would rise anew, transformed and reborn through the ages. Yet, as the 14th century dawned, the very framework had reached its completion. In the era of Gothic splendor, a true masterpiece emerged from the shadows of time. By the mid-14th century, Notre Dame de Paris had transcended its role as merely a cathedral, stood as the cathedral, a magnificent emblem of Catholic supremacy, regal power, and the essence of national identity. For the next 4 centuries, it remained not just the heart of Paris, but a grand stage where the epic tales of France would come to life. It emerged as the vibrant center of state religion, a stage for coronations, royal weddings, and solemn farewells. When kings united in marriage, it was beneath the grand arches of its soaring ceilings. In times of war and moments of triumph, the resounding chimes of Notre Dame echoed across the Seine, marking the pulse of history.
Ow.
Monarchs arrived as sovereigns of their realms and departed as the anointed of the divine. Yet, it wasn't solely monarchs who traversed those grand thresholds. Leaders of armies, men of the cloth, and esteemed visitors from distant lands gathered, some to bow in reverence, others to engage in delicate discussions. In times of calamity, when famines ravaged the land, plagues swept through the streets, and invasions threatened their peace, the people of Paris gathered in the Grand Nave,
Ow.
their voices rising in fervent prayers and solemn processions, yearning for a touch of divine grace. The cathedral emerged as a refuge, a place where hope intertwined with fear, ever vigilant, ever poised. In the grand tapestry of history, Notre Dame emerged as the sacred heart of the French monarchy, a beacon of faith and power intertwined. The central location, nestled on the Isle de la Cite, stands at both the literal and symbolic heart of Paris, creating an ideal setting for the enactment of ritualized power. Before the clash of swords and the roar of battle, the holy men adorned the banners with sacred blessings. The crown was entwined not merely with royal lineage, but with a sacred decree from the heavens. In the realm where the king held sway over France, it was Notre Dame that reigned supreme over the depths of his spirit, and in the tapestry of culture, continued to be a source of wonder. Travelers journeyed great distances to catch a sight of its revered treasures, among them the crown of thorns, thought to have adorned Christ himself. The grand organ resonated with powerful chords on festive occasions. Their harmonies resonated with intricate melodies that transcended the limits of the medieval era. Notre Dame was alive with movement, transformed, weaving in fresh artistic expressions, melodic traditions, and sacred practices. Yet, as the 17th and 18th centuries unfolded, the once celebrated Gothic beauty began to wane in popularity. In a time when Baroque architecture reigned supreme, the majestic Notre Dame, with its dark, spiky silhouette and medieval charm, was cast aside as a relic of the past. Some renovations were even undertaken to refresh its appearance, softening what had once been bold, yet it remained a grand edifice suspended in time, honored by some, yet fading from the collective memory of many. Its towers stood resilient against the tempests and the passage of years, while its bells continued to ring out with a timeless echo.
Ow.
Yet an unseen force was stirring deep within its very core. From the depths of devotion, Notre Dame rose, a testament to the dreams of monarchs. Yet a looming power approached, one that even the mightiest stone would struggle to withstand: transformation. In the year 1789, as the winds of change swept through France, Notre Dame de Paris stood at a crossroads, caught in the tumult of a revolution that would reshape the very fabric of society. For ages, it had remained a testament to the reign of kings and the power of faith, embodying the very pillars that the revolution aimed to dismantle. In an instant, the grand cathedral that once stood as a testament to the power of kings transformed into a haunting emblem of oppression. For in the tumult of revolutions, few symbols emerge unscathed. The assault was both a clash of beliefs and a brutal confrontation. With fervor and determination, the revolutionaries burst into the cathedral, their presence echoing through the hallowed halls. The statues that graced the facade, meant to represent biblical kings, were often misidentified as French monarchs. Each of the 28 met their fate by the blade, Statues lay in ruins, sacred places tarnished, the magnificent bells which once rang out in celebration of royal births and papal visits were dismantled and transformed into cannon metal. Valuable artifacts, such as the crown of thorns, were carefully taken away and concealed. Countless souls vanished into the shadows. What lingered was but an empty vessel. In the year 1793, the Grand Notre Dame was officially stripped of its sacred status. It had shed its identity as a church. Instead, it transformed into what was known as the Temple of Reason, reimagined for revolutionary festivities that honored the spirit of secular enlightenment. There was a time when it served as a grand repository for the finest wines, a place where bottles were carefully tucked away, waiting for the perfect moment to be uncorked. The grand nave, which once resonated with the sweet melodies of hymns, now carried the heavy scent of spilled barrels and the chill of damp stone. Once a proud spire, now marred by time and neglect, it ultimately met its fate as it was taken down for the sake of safety. From their lofty perches, the gargoyles plummeted down. Raindrops danced upon the ceiling, whispering secrets of a roof that had grown weary with age. In the dim shadows of the crypt, rats darted about, their tiny feet whispering secrets of the past. It felt as if the soul of Paris had faded away, leaving behind only a desolate relic at its core. And yet it endured. Upon ascending to power, Napoleon understood the profound significance that Notre Dame held as a symbol. In the year 1804, he selected this very place for the momentous occasion of his self-coronation as emperor. The cathedral, once again bathed in reverence, was polished and prepared to welcome the opulent ceremony that awaited its hallowed halls. Yet this was not an act of faith. It was a grand performance. In a dramatic turn of events, Napoleon took the crown into his own hands, boldly seizing it from the Pope's grasp. Notre Dame stood tall once more, a testament to strength, yet the sacred essence it once held seemed to have faded away. Yet the passage of time, marked by years of disregard, etched deep wounds into the fabric of their existence. As the 1830s unfolded, majestic Notre Dame found itself in a state of decay, both in its structure and in the very essence of its spirit. It faced the axe more than once. Some Parisians believed it would be wiser to swap it out for something contemporary, something that felt less medieval, less eerie, and then a weaver of tales stepped in. An observer who perceives beyond the fractured stones and broken statues to uncover something timeless, something deserving of preservation. As the world seemed poised to let Notre Dame fade into memory, a voice emerged to rekindle its significance. In 1831, a remarkable tale was unveiled, one that would breathe new life into a cathedral's legacy. Victor Hugo's Notre Dame de Paris, which later became known in English as The Hunchback of Notre Dame, transcended the boundaries of a mere Gothic novel. It was a heartfelt call to safeguard what is precious. Through the perspective of Quasimodo, the hunchbacked bell ringer, Hugo transformed Notre Dame into a living entity, breathing life into its stones and shadows. It was a vibrant being, scarred, misjudged, exquisite in its deterioration. And the audience leaned in. The tale resonated deeply throughout France. In an instant, the people of Paris came to understand the impending loss that loomed before them. Notre Dame was steeped in history, stood as a testament, a grand tribute to ages, of passion and skillful artistry. The clamor had its effect. In the year 1844, King Louis Philippe gave his blessing to a grand restoration effort, spearheaded by the talented architects Eugene Viollet-le-Duc and Jean-Baptiste Lassus. Their aim transcended mere repairs, was to breathe life back into the very spirit of the cathedral. They restored the weathered statues, constructed the Gallery of Kings, and envisioned anew the spire that had been taken away during the Revolution. Behold the new spire, a creation of Viollet, soaring to a height of 96 meters, more majestic and intricate than its predecessor. It would evolve into a silhouette that would be etched in the memory of Europe, in the unfolding narrative. Of the 19th and 20th centuries, Notre Dame reclaimed its esteemed position. Standing proudly as the heart of spiritual and cultural life in Paris, it embraced countless gatherings, bore witness to moments of freedom, and opened its doors to millions of souls. It endured the trials of 2 world wars. In the shadow of the Nazi occupation, the bells fell silent, their voices stilled in a time of darkness. As the bells of Paris chimed in joyous celebration in 1944, marking the city's liberation, an ominous shadow loomed, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, hinting that sorrow would soon follow. On the fateful day of April 15, 2019, flames erupted beneath the roof, igniting a tale of chaos and destruction in mere moments. The flames consumed the ancient wooden lattice referred to as the forest, with some beams tracing their origins back to the 13th century. The flames danced and roared for what felt like an eternity. As the dust settled, the once sturdy roof gave way, surrendering to the weight of time and neglect. In a dramatic cascade, the spire of the 19th century crumbled, enveloped in a swirling plume of smoke. In a moment that felt surreal, the world held its breath as one of humanity's most cherished monuments appeared to dissolve before our very eyes. And yet, once more, it endured. The stone towers remained steadfast, the rose windows persisted, the relics were preserved, and the people of France, joined by the world, pledged to restore what was lost. Notre Dame has always been a tapestry of history and emotion. It embodies memory, weaves identity, showcases resilience, stands as a church, serves as a symbol, and represents a survivor. In each stone that emerges from its ashes, we find a reminder that faith and beauty have the power to be reborn. In the year of our Lord 1775, a child came into the world in the vibrant Guangdong province of China. Her name at birth remained a mystery, lost to time. In the annals of time, she would be remembered as Zheng Yusa, the devoted wife of Zheng Yi. Yet, the way she wielded that name would send tremors through the very foundations of empires. Her formative years, she found herself navigating the tumultuous waters of life aboard a Cantonese floating brothel, a stark reality. Faced by many impoverished girls in the coastal regions of 18th century China, these intriguing flower boats served the needs of merchants, naval officers, and pirates alike. Yet she stood apart from the rest. She absorbed every word. She observed intently. She held on to names like precious gems, each one a thread in the tapestry of her memories. She drew out the voices of influential clients. As the days passed, she transformed into something far beyond mere amusement. She transformed into a purveyor of knowledge. And then emerged Zheng Yi, a formidable pirate lord who led the Red Flag Fleet, one of the mightiest pirate factions in the South China Sea. He may not have been the first pirate to cross her path, but he would undoubtedly be the final chapter in her tale. Captivated by her sharp intellect and cleverness, Zheng Yi made a proposal of marriage. She agreed, yet not without stipulations. In a remarkable twist of fate, she skillfully navigated the complexities of her position. She sought to share the reins of the fleet not merely as a spouse, but as an equal ally. She would weave together political alliances, orchestrate the spoils of conquest, and influence every pivotal decision. Zheng Yi nodded in affirmation. Be it from affection or cunning, he recognized her value. In the year 1801, their union marked the dawn of a legendary pirate dynasty. Destined to carve its name into the annals of history, Zheng Yi swiftly wove herself into the intricate tapestry of pirate politics. She delved into the intricate hierarchies, the fierce rivalries, and the secret codes that defined the realm of pirates. As Zheng Yi navigated the seas and claimed victories, she subtly wove intricate networks, gathered loyal allies, and mastered the art of governance from the unseen corners of power. Yet, she soon emerged from the shadows, when Zheng Yi met his untimely end in 1807, perhaps at the hands of a fierce typhoon. Many believed his vast empire would soon crumble into disarray. A multitude of pirate captains lay in wait, eager to seize the moment, anticipating a shift in power. What they received, instead, was a bold maneuver for control. Zhang Yikao took the helm, not through sheer might, but with cunning and finesse. She seized command of the Red Flag Fleet, forged powerful alliances, and united with Zheng Yi's adopted son and Lieutenant Chang Po-sai, weaving together personal loyalty and military might in less than a decade. She transformed from a life of hardship to that of a fierce pirate queen, and her journey was only beginning. When Zheng Yi Cao took command in 1807, she didn't merely step into the role of a pirate leader. She ascended to the throne of a vast, floating realm. Yet, rather than allowing it to fracture into chaos following her husband's demise, she strengthened her hold and infused it with even greater power. Under her command, the Red Flag Fleet not only endured, but thrived and expanded. In the shadowy depths of the South China Sea, a tale unfolds, one marked by the presence of pirates who have haunted these waters for ages. Yet what Zheng Yi Cao commanded was truly remarkable. She commanded a mighty fleet of over 300 ships, and in the span of a year, that number surged to more than 600, according to some estimates. She ultimately commanded over 1,800 vessels, with a remarkable force of up to 70,000 men at her disposal, surpassing the combined strength of several European navies of that era. With an unyielding sense of practicality and a sharp insight into the minds of pirates, she navigated the treacherous waters of their world. She wielded her influence not merely through might, but by weaving a web that tethered her captains to her will. She established a rigorous set of rules that dictated every aspect of life on the high seas for her crew of pirates. Treasure, allegiance, order, and retribution. Defiance was met with immediate and harsh consequences. Those who dared to pilfer from the shared coffers faced a grim fate, for their heads would roll. In a world of swashbuckling adventures, a pirate who dared to lay hands on a female captive without consent faced the ultimate consequence: execution. When a pirate chose to abandon his crew, his ears were severed, and he was displayed before the entire fleet as a cautionary tale. Yet it was more than mere fear. Zheng Yi Cao provided a haven, a framework, and a pathway to prosperity. Her code ensured that the pirates retained a just portion of their treasure, 20%, with the remainder flowing into a communal fund under her stewardship. This fostered a sense of ownership among all, weaving loyalty into the fabric of stability. Even those who had been vanquished and the inhabitants of the coast frequently opted to ally with her. Instead of standing against her, she orchestrated the Grand Fleet, splitting it into 6 vibrant squadrons, each adorned in its own hierarchy: black, white, blue, yellow, and green, yet all remained under her watchful command. Her most trusted companion and right hand, Chang Po-sai, commanded the Red Squadron, her distinguished force. Under the leadership of Zheng Yi Cao, piracy evolved into a self-sustaining entity, complete with its own systems of taxation, defense, and a structured hierarchy. She commanded the waters from Vietnam to Hong Kong, overseeing trade routes launching daring raids on imperial strongholds and gathering tribute from the coastal settlements. In the era of the Qing dynasty, a formidable navy sailed the seas. While Zheng Yi Cao commanded an ever-expanding empire, its influence reaching far and wide, Zheng Yi Cao wielded her power not merely through charm, but through unyielding laws. Steadfast and resolute, though the image of pirates typically evokes scenes of chaos and drunken revelry, her fleet functioned with the precision and order of a well-run corporation rather than a band of outlaws. At the heart of this grand design lay her pirate code, a meticulously crafted set of laws that transformed chaos into order. This code wasn't a delicate scroll shared under the soft glow of flickering candles. It was harsh, unyielding, and imposed. With unwavering resolve, all aboard understood the gravity of their mission. To breach the rules was to invite disgrace, and in the direst of circumstances, a fate far more severe awaited. A notorious decree dictated the sharing of treasures. Following a raid, every piece of treasure was required to be brought forth to the central storehouse of the fleet. The pirate who orchestrated the venture claimed a 20% share, while the remainder flowed into the communal treasure trove. In the depths of that pool, overseen by Zheng Yi Cao and her loyal officers, a tapestry of purpose unfolded, serving as a sanctuary for fleet maintenance, a source of widow pensions, a wellspring of bribes, and a reserve for emergencies. To pilfer from the community was not merely disapproved, it was a transgression that could lead to the ultimate consequence. Then arrived the essence of discipline. To defy orders in the heat of battle was a grave transgression. Those who turned their backs on their comrades or defied commands faced dire consequences: flogging, execution, or a grim fate cast into the depths of the sea. Abandonment, with severance of the head. The code delved into the intricacies of relationships. When a pirate seized a woman, he was bound by the code to honor her with respect. The penalty for sexual assault was death by beheading. She sought not the tumult of disorder, but the firm grasp of mastery, and within the lines of code. She found her dominion. A dependable framework emerged, one where pirates understood the guidelines, the repercussions, and their portion of the spoils. It forged a bond of loyalty not merely to Zheng Yikao as a leader, but to the very essence of the system she represented. Remarkably, she welcomed both prisoners and coastal civilians into her ranks. In return, they were bound to pledge their allegiance to her code. Numerous souls did. Some were drawn in by trepidation, while others were captivated by reverence. Some came to realize that beneath Zheng Yikao's leadership, piracy offered a sense of safety, greater rewards, and oddly enough, a fairer existence compared to the corrupt Qing authorities. Her influence reached far beyond the confines of the ship's decks. In the embrace of her guardianship, the coastal villages offered their tribute. A pact forged for the promise of safety and the gift of autonomy. Those who dared to stand against it were consumed by flames. Those who yielded found themselves woven into the fabric of her expanding realm. She transcended the role of a mere pirate. By 1808, Zheng Yikao's pirate empire had evolved from a simple maritime nuisance into a formidable national threat. Her swift vessels ruled the South China Sea, and weaving through trade routes and striking coastal towns without fear. In a moment of great turmoil, the Qing dynasty found itself cornered, compelled to respond, yet unprepared for the formidable challenges that lay ahead. In a bold move, the imperial navy set forth on a grand campaign to vanquish the pirates, dispatching a formidable array of warships to pursue the elusive fleet of Zheng Yikao. What unfolded was not a tale of swift triumphs, but rather a disheartening exhibition of imperial folly. Time and again, the navy found itself bested, outsmarted, overshadowed by the formidable forces of Zheng Yikao. She possessed an intimate understanding of the waters that surpassed all others, with a keen understanding of the weather's whims. The island's embrace and the dance of the shallow tides, she wove a clever snare for the mightier Qing ships. Her sailors moved as one, striking with unity, seamlessly changing ships in the heat of battle, and drawing foes into traps with a chilling accuracy that sent shivers down spines. Time and again, whole squadrons of the Qing found themselves ensnared, their vessels seamlessly woven into the fabric of the Red Flag fleet. And what of the spirit? The contrast was remarkable. In a world where imperial officers frequently succumbed to corruption, underpayment, or cowardice, Zheng Yikao's crew stood apart, meticulously organized and fiercely devoted, united by her unwavering code and celebrated for their triumphs. As the battles unfolded, the Qing dynasty's plight became increasingly apparent. They sought the aid of European powers, particularly the Portuguese and the British, to lend their strength in naval battles. Though these foreign navies boasted superior ships and formidable firepower, they were at a disadvantage. Lacking the intimate knowledge of the waters and the shared resolve that characterized Zheng Yikao's formidable armada, yet the tension grew ever stronger in the year 1809. A formidable alliance of Qing, Portuguese, and Cantonese forces encircled sections of her fleet. Even in those moments, she stood her ground, skillfully pulling back while delivering surprising counterattacks that left her foes in awe. She was not merely enduring, she was bringing the empire to its knees in disgrace. Yet the conflict exacted a heavy toll. The relentless struggle sapped strength and depleted resources. Even the mightiest of pirate empires must eventually face the tides of war. And as she sailed through the waves, undefeated Zhang Yi Cao grasped a vital truth. At times, true strength lies not in conquering every battle. At times it's about recognizing the moment to step back, preserving all that matters. Her resolve was firm. She would not meet her end upon the waves, nor be shackled and taken to the court of the Qing. She crafted a scheme so unexpected, it would surely take her adversaries by surprise. By the year 1810, Zhang Yi Cao had achieved what many deemed unachievable. She stood resolute against the formidable Qing dynasty, casting aside foreign navies with a sense of triumph, and commanded the seas with unparalleled authority. Yet, she possessed a keen sense of reality. She understood that conflicts, particularly those with unending battlefields and multiplying foes, could not persist indefinitely. Resources dwindled. Bonds weakened, and her formidable fleet, while still grand, started to bear the heavy toll of loss. Thus she shifted her approach. Zhang Yi Cao extended a hand to the Qing government, not in defeat, but with conditions to be met. Fearless souls. She understood the power she possessed. The Qing had not succeeded in overcoming her through military might. Their own citizens trembled at her presence, their fear overshadowing any semblance of respect for the empire. She could negotiate not as a desperate soul pleading for forgiveness, but as a dignified ruler of a nation. She journeyed to Guangzhou, commanding her own vessel. Flanked by a cadre of armed protectors, the vibrant colors of the red flag fleet billowing in the wind. It was not a request. It was a bold maneuver. She sought forgiveness, not solely for her own sake, but for all those who sailed with her, a multitude of swashbucklers. She asserted her claim to retain her fortune. She went so far as to demand that her second-in-command and husband, Cheng Po-kai, be bestowed with a military rank in the Qing Navy. The government found itself in a state of disbelief. Yet in the depths of their hearts, weariness lingered as, the empire found itself at a crossroads, unable to bear the weight of yet another expensive and protracted struggle. In a fleeting instance of unexpected practicality, they reached an accord. Zhang Yi Cao yielded with flair. On the fateful day of April 18, 1810, she boldly guided a formidable force of over 17,000 pirates, comprising men, women, and children, into the heart of the city. Not in chains, but in a grand procession. A remarkable turn of events, more than 200 ships were surrendered. Weapons were ceremoniously laid to rest, and the entire pirate confederation dissolved. All without a single drop of blood being shed. There were neither trials, nor executions, nor any loss of wealth. In the annals of history, there emerged a figure named Cheng Po-kai, who was bestowed with the esteemed rank of captain in the Qing Navy. Zhang Yi Cao stepped into retirement, a free spirit, unscathed, victorious, and still basking in her vast wealth. In a realm where the tales of pirates often conclude with treachery or demise, Zhang Yi Cao's narrative unfolded with diplomacy and a graceful exit. She navigated the game with finesse, starting with cannons and then weaving her way through with words. As the crimson banners fell, the tale of her legend was just starting to unfold. Many tales of pirates conclude with bloodshed, the gallows, or fading into obscurity. Yet, Zhang Yi Cao did more than merely evade that destiny. From it, she wove a new existence. After orchestrating the most remarkable pirate surrender ever witnessed, she strode away not as a fugitive, but as a revered and affluent woman, her legacy shining brightly. In the year 1810, following the capitulation of her fleet, she found her new home in Canton, known today as Guangzhou, alongside her husband Cheng Po-kai, who had taken on the role of a captain in the Qing Navy. The shift from pirate queen to esteemed member of society may appear ludicrous, yet for Zhang Yi Cao, it was merely another chapter in her strategic journey of survival. She embraced her life with a sense of ease, and the Qing authorities mostly turned a blind eye to her existence. Instead of slipping away into the shadows, she subtly transformed into a savvy businesswoman. She established a gambling house and an opium smuggling operation. both technically illegal yet largely ignored thanks to her considerable influence. She sought not to construct another grand legacy. Yet she was determined to leave an indelible mark. She nurtured her relationships, safeguarded her riches, and embraced life according to her own vision. Through the trials and tribulations, her union with Cheng Pokai stood strong, and together they nurtured a family filled with love and memories. As he remained steadfast in his duties with the Qing Navy, pursuing pirates who bore a striking resemblance to their former selves, Zheng Yikao turned his attention to the realm of commerce. In the heart of elite circles, she navigated the complexities of maritime affairs, becoming a legendary figure whose name echoed among sailors and traders along the South China coast. What's remarkable isn't merely that she existed, but the way in which she embraced life. She shattered the confines of every expectation her society held for women. From humble beginnings, thrust into a life of exploitation, she fought fiercely to rise above the shadows of a male-dominated underworld. In a twist of fate, rather than meeting her end in the chaos of battle or facing the grim fate of the scaffold, she chose a path of tranquility, passing away quietly in 1844 at the venerable age of 69. She walked her path with unwavering confidence. Untouched by the notion of redemption, her existence unfolded as a bold narrative, a vibrant challenge to every rule, tradition, and expectation that sought to confine her. In an era when the voices of women were often silenced, Zheng Yikao rose to prominence, leading fleets, shaping treaties, and engaging in dialogue with emperors. And then she strode away, wealthier and more liberated than any pirate of legend, with her sails lowered and her cannons silent. The whispers of her legend continued to ripple through the waves. In the annals of time, figures such as Blackbeard, Bartholomew Roberts, and Henry Morgan emerge. Legendary men who sailed the Caribbean seas, spreading turmoil and ultimately facing their fates in dramatic fashion. Yet, in the dim light of their notoriety, there emerges Zheng Yikao, not merely their counterpart, but a figure who eclipses them in nearly every regard. She didn't merely captain a few ships. She commanded vast fleets. She didn't just plunder a handful of coastal towns. She ruled over entire regions of the sea, and she didn't meet her end on the gallows or in a gunfight. She wove her tale from the shadows of piracy into the light of peace. In the grand tapestry of pirate lore, she stands out as the most triumphant yet enigmatic figure of them all. Her success was not merely a stroke of luck or a display of ruthlessness. It was the result of careful strategy, sharp intellect, and a profound grasp of power dynamics. She was a master of strategy, a shaper of policies, and an observer of the human mind. She understood the art of maintaining loyalty, not just through fear, but also by establishing order, offering rewards, and weaving a meticulously designed system. What set her apart was her remarkable ability to accomplish all of this as a woman. In Qing-era China, a time when Confucian ideals held sway, relegating women to the shadows of silence and servitude. In a world where the marketplace was dominated by men, the idea of women taking charge, especially on the tumultuous high seas, was almost unthinkable. Zheng Yikao didn't merely challenge that norm, she broke it into 1,000 pieces. She commanded. The admiration of fierce pirate captains compelled the Qing dynasty to engage in negotiations, and concluded her journey as a savvy business owner and revered matriarch. She stood strong on her own, unbound by the shadows of a man's legacy. She embraced it, transformed it, and infused it with her unique essence. In the collective consciousness, she lingers as a specter, overshadowed by her male peers, less celebrated. In the annals of Western literature, and frequently erased from the narratives of mainstream history, yet in the realms of seafaring and the rich tapestry of Chinese coastal tales, she is revered with a sense of wonder.
Wow.
The red flag fleet may have disappeared, its sails forever stilled. Yet the memory of Zheng Yikao endures like a phantom vessel, quiet, elusive, and grander than reality itself. More than a mere pirate, more than just a woman, she is a legend who brought empires to their knees. In a realm dominated by men, She didn't merely seek a seat at the table. She claimed the vastness of the ocean itself, even with the mightiest pirate fleet the world has ever known at his command. Zhang Yikao remains an enigmatic figure, largely overlooked by the pages of mainstream history. Her legacy, vast and profound, has been shrouded in shadows, eclipsed by tales of Western marauders, and hidden beneath the weight of colonial narratives, gender biases, and political unease. What is the reason behind this? For her narrative defies the conventional framework. She was not a sorrowful figure of rebellion like Blackbeard. She did not meet her end on the battlefield. She hailed from a different land altogether. And most formidable of all, she was a woman who deftly outmaneuvered an empire. Such power shakes the foundations of the tidy, male-centric tales that historians have traditionally favored. In the annals of Chinese official records, she appears more as a challenge addressed than as a character deserving of exploration. The Qing dynasty sought to erase her from memory, preferring to let her story fade into obscurity. In the end, she unveiled their maritime vulnerabilities, challenged the might of the empire, and strolled away unscathed. Even amidst triumph, she remained a source of shame for the crown. Western historians encountered similar challenges. For ages, the allure of piracy has been painted in vivid strokes. Filled with tales of peglegs, rum, parrots, and daring plunder, Zhang Yikao was an unexpected character in that narrative. She did not embody the spirit of adventure. She wove her plans with precision. Her battles were not for the sake of fame. She wove a tale of ambition and strategy, seeking to claim her rightful place in the realm of influence. She didn't meet her end at the hands of the state. Instead, she engaged in a dance of wits and emerged victorious, for numerous narrators that didn't spark much excitement. It was quite the hassle. Yet, in the unfolding chapters of recent decades, her tale has once again come to life. Scholars, feminist historians, and pirate enthusiasts have embarked on a journey to revive her legacy, restoring her rightful place in the grand narrative of maritime power. Documentaries, historical novels, and even video games have begun to weave the tale of the pirate queen of the South China Sea. Yet, a veil of enigma continues to envelop her existence. Her true name has faded into obscurity. Her voice echoes through the accounts of those who opposed her Qing officials, foreign sailors, and later, European observers, offering a fragment of her story. Yet the fragments we possess are sufficient to craft the outline of a giant. She wasn't merely a woman. She was someone who never cared that existence itself was a fleeting shadow. Zhang Yikao forged his own path to power, unbound by the world's approval. She seized power, mastered it with skill, and slipped into the annals of history, leaving behind a legacy of wealth, authority, and dignity unmatched by any pirate, regardless of gender, before or since. She remained vibrant. She vanished into the ether. Yet, as fate would have it, tales of old inevitably returned to the light. Zhang Yikao walked without a crown upon his head. She felt no compulsion to do so. Her power was not derived from a crown or noble lineage. It emerged from authority, from reverence, from trepidation, from countless voices echoing her commands across the expanse. In every true sense of the word, she reigned as a queen, sovereign of a realm unconfined by borders, flags, or defined lands. Her realm was the South China Sea, and her influence extended from the Gulf of Tonkin to the coasts of Guangdong. She crafted a creation unparalleled by any other, a singular marvel that stood alone in its brilliance. Her band of pirates was more than mere outlaws. It was a tale of strategy, structure, and purpose. She wielded power over trade routes, crafted codes of law, brokered treaties, and maintained order in a territory that even the Qing Empire found challenging to manage. Her vessels were not mere wayward marauders. They were grand armadas. Captains were not mere wanderers of the seas. They were guardians of the law. Her kin were not outlaws. In a realm above the clouds, they called themselves the inhabitants of a drifting land. And yet, what sets her legacy apart is not merely her ascent, but the way she departed. Many tales of pirates conclude with flames and the noose. The tale of Zheng Yi Cao concludes with a blend of negotiation, retirement, and the accumulation of wealth. She chose to rise above the depths, refusing to be claimed by the wreckage of her vessel. She descended from it, untouched, resolute, and firmly grasping the purse strings. When she took her final breath in 1844, she had achieved what no pirate, no emperor, and no general had ever accomplished before her. She turned her back on absolute power, a choice made with intention, preserving the essence of her legend. In the present day, there are but a handful of monuments that carry her name. No grand palace, no towering statue in the square, yet her essence lingers over the South China Sea, a tempestuous cloud that refuses to disperse. In the hushed tones of sailors, in the bold strokes of defiant women, in the souls of those who grasp that true leadership springs not from lineage, but from sheer determination. Zheng Yi Cao embodied the essence of boldness, showing that true greatness forges its own path without seeking approval. In a realm designed to stifle the voices of women, there exists a singular voice, keen, calculated, and resolute, that has the power to seize an empire. She reigned with unwavering confidence. With unwavering resolve, she engaged in battle. And she stepped away, her legacy untarnished. A tale not woven from myth or legend, but of a woman who triumphed over the sea. Stepping away just before it could claim her, though her sails have vanished, her silhouette lingers, casting a long shadow over the undulating waves.